he exudes it. So I'm just going to stick with that.
I think it's fantastic, and we won't break too much or bust Sean too much before he comes on, because we don't want
Sure.
Exactly, but I love Sean.
Well, I'm going to fit on the screen with all that hair. If his head gets any bigger, then all of a sudden you're just going to. So.
There's very few in the UFO world that could put my hair to shame, and Sean definitely does that. That is for sure.
He puts my German Shepherd's big mane to shame. I mean, you see him side by side. I got this big, beautiful male German Shepherd, and he goes and gives him a big hug when he comes by to visit. And the dog kind of looks back like this, and he's like, "Hey, where'd you get that mane?" There's a little bit of like jealousy going on there.
For sure. For sure. We're going to get going here in 30 seconds on the radio show. I want to remind everybody that a great way to support us, if you haven't already, is hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week here, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. The Super Chat is open. And for all of you, you can follow us on social media all over the place. I think most of you already do. We're going to get going here in about 5 seconds. We are in for one hell of a night here on Spaced Out Radio, and I'm so glad all of you are a part of it. Here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. I'll tell you, we have a busy night here on Spaced Out Radio, so we're going to get right to it. Here in hour number one, we are proud to have Luis Elizondo talk about the state of affairs in the UFO world right now, and man, are we ever in exciting times. In hour two, Sean Cahill will join us to continue the discussion. Then in hour three, the infamous alien autopsy video going up for auction as an NFT? Yep. It's happening. All right, let's do this. Luis Elizondo, second time in 3 months you've been on Spaced Out Radio. We are very glad to have you here. Are you tired yet?
Dave, it is my absolute privilege to be here. It is a promise that I meant to keep. Unfortunately, I couldn't be with you and your audience for the full 2.5 hours last time, so I'm here to make up for that. So first of all, thank you for having me back and not throwing tomatoes at me as I come through the front door. And secondly, it is truly my privilege to come back and have a wonderful chat with you, and of course to be followed by someone who's far, as I said before, far more charismatic than me, and that's Sean Cahill. I think he's definitely. I've been a little tired lately, so forgive me if I'm not as charismatic. But I think Sean's going to give you guys one hell of a show.
Lou, right off the bat, this is getting closer, June 25th, and every day we see a lot more of these so-called experts coming out of the woodwork, people who are critical of the work you're doing, people who are critical of the work that, the words that are coming out from the government, whether it's Jeremy Corbell's videos, whether it's statements from the Pentagon. How are you handling this newfound criticism that is jumping out of nowhere?
Well, look, I've said before, the truth has nothing to hide, and I'm not a stranger to criticism. The very moment I left the government and walked on that stage some 3.5 years ago, I was met with criticism from all sides. But I'm not doing this to make friends. I'm doing this for a very deeply personal reason, and it's to to tell the truth, tell America what really their tax dollars was paying for, and what we found. And at the end of the day, once we finish that conversation, I'm glad to fade off into the sunset and get weird and disappear and live up in the mountains. I'm not doing this for own personal gain. In fact, it's a lot of personal sacrifice. As you probably see, I'm every time I do one of these, I look more and more tired. And there's a reason for that, because besides doing what I'm doing, I do have a day job. I have to pay my mortgage and put my kids through school and whatnot. I have responsibilities. I do this for free. And Dave, this, and your audience probably knows this, but I'm not making a cent doing this podcast. I don't make a cent doing Fox News or CNN or NBC or ABC. I do it because I believe in the cause, and I believe the people who are part of this effort. I believe in you. I believe in your audience. And I think this is something that, for the first time maybe in history, we have taken this topic and this little ragtag group we call ufology and have really turned it into a global movement. And that's, there's something to be said for that. And every single one of the listeners right now, and every single one of your bloggers are part of that movement. So this is a joint effort. And I think for me, it's been an honor and privilege to be part of that. I'm not looking to be the face of ufology. I'm not looking to be the leader of anything. My first responsibility and priority is that as a father. Secondly, it's that as an American citizen and a patriot. But in order to be, a patriot, sometimes you have to do things that don't seem very patriotic at the time. And so I left the government to do this. So I guess with that said, thank you for having me back, and your audience for having the patience to allow me to come back.
Lou, I want to ask you one personal question before we get into the goods here. And I've never heard this question asked to you, so I'm just going to fire it out. There's always people behind you that are supporting you, that are holding your back up. And namely, that always falls back on our family. How is your family, your wife, your children holding out through this entire process and watching you stress out, watching you all over the place? People, wanting a piece of you every minute of every day. How are they holding out?
They're doing really well. Probably a lot better than I would expect anybody to do. They see their dad go up every day, or their husband taking arrows and getting cheap shots, and people who've never met me before, having all these crazy accusations about who I am and what I do and what my intentions and motivations are. And they've been with me for 20 years. They were with me when I was in combat. They were with me when I was doing a lot of jobs for the government that, maybe one day those stories will come out. And they know the type of person I am. And at the end of the day, I just want to do good. I want to do good for my country. And that mission never stopped. And I think for them, there's a lot of personal pain watching dad go up there and take the arrows and not being able to do, at least, I was telling you before we went on the radio, at least in combat, you can shoot back, but here you can't. Here you just have to sit there and smile and take the arrows and stay focused to the mission. I try to do my best to facilitate the narrative so everybody has a voice. I think every voice is important, even the naysayers, even those voices that don't agree with necessarily what we're trying to do. Everybody's opinion counts, as long as we can have that discussion in a cordial way, at least sometimes anyways.
Is it getting cordial? Is it getting a little bit too much? Like, I hear everybody from Mick West to Dr. Stephen Greer coming at you at different angles, and all the sublets that they have around them coming at you. I mean, how hard is that to deflect all of that pressure?
Well, it's funny because for 3.5 years they've been taking cheap shots at me, and I haven't said anything. The one time I do just a small retort, they fall to pieces and start crying, and you're not fair, Lou, and what are you doing? And you're picking a fight. Well, I mean, at some point, you keep poking. I'm going to poke back. What I don't like is the disingenuousness of people. Whereas they are, I want people to have the conversation, and I don't care if you agree with me or not. I don't care who you go for your sources of information. make up your own mind. But when people come out there and they obfuscate, they tell you deliberately, don't listen to those people, only listen to me, and, give me your money so I can tell you the truth. I don't know what to tell you, man, but Heaven's Gate and Jim Jones comes to mind. I think you have cults of personality out there that have been taking advantage of people and spinning a story for so long that they believe their own stories at this point. And unfortunately, people get wrapped up in those narratives, and they are discouraged from thinking on their own and asking their own questions. Anything that doesn't comport to someone's narrative is automatically disinformation. Automatically, it's some sort of big grand lie that the government's kind of spin up to try to fool you for whatever reason. But I mean, it's utter nonsense. And unfortunately, when you finally call them on their nonsense, then they want to cry and roll on their backs and kick their feet in the air. So it is. I try not to lower myself to that. I try to maintain a much higher standard. But look, I'm human, and there's going to be times where, I'm going to get 2-3 hours of sleep, every night for a week, and my patience is going to wear thin. And as a kid, I did a lot of boxing. I did a lot of martial arts. I did a lot of weightlifting, and that was an outlet for me. But unfortunately, I don't have those to at my disposal, because I've been the last 3 years so invested in this topic, and I haven't had the time. And frankly, my health has suffered and everything else. And so, again, I'm not looking for a pity party, so don't take that the wrong way. I don't want anybody in your audience to come out and say, "Oh, poor Lou." No, poor Lou, my ass. I knew exactly what I was getting into. I'm doing this because I believe it's the right thing to do. I don't want your mercy. I don't want your pity. What I want is you to think, and I want you to engage. I want you to talk about this topic. I don't care what narrative you have. Just talk to people about it and let them know it's okay to have this conversation, because we are entering a new paradigm. Whether you realize it or not, which I think most people do, this topic has reached a critical mass. It has gotten to the point where in the last 70 years, we never would have dreamed of getting to this point. And now we're here. You have every major news outlet listening, and they're taking the topic seriously. And I think that's a hell of an achievement, and that's an achievement we can all celebrate and rejoice in, because this has been a mutual effort, and it's been a mutual victory.
All right. I'm going to assume then that you're not going to take up Dr. Stephen Greer on his offer to have a online live debate on Third Phase of Moon then.
Who's Greer?
There you go.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Look, I don't negotiate with terrorists, bottom line. And I'm not going to draw attention to every person out there that wants to, scream and cry and again, throw stones at me. It's like walking by a schoolyard where you have some 4-year-old in the playground, calling you names. What do? Do you jump the fence and go beat that kid's butt? No, you don't do that. Could you? Sure. But you're not going to solve anything. They're kids on the playground. Let them heckle and, stay focused to the real mission at hand.
All right, Lou, let's get right into it, because recently we have seen everybody from President Obama on down starting to talk about this subject. And one of the concerns that I had regarding President Obama is 5 years ago, he was on Jimmy Kimmel, I believe, denying that when he asked about this topic, that he knew nothing of it, that he was told nothing of it. Now, recently with James Corden, he comes on and states that, he does know a little bit about this topic, and we do need to investigate this. Is this a matter of the former president, keeping an NDA that he had to keep quiet on this subject, or is this a story where he's now getting interested in what's coming out?
Look, I can't speak on behalf of President Obama, but what I can say is that those were different times. 5 years ago, if anybody, whether you were the media, you're a politician, or anybody else, were to talk about this topic in a serious manner and in a public manner, it was career suicide. By the way, ask me how I know, right? So it wasn't palatable. And no, I don't blame. If you're going to blame him, you've got to blame everybody, because nobody was taking this topic seriously. And if they were, no one was going to be open about it. So I certainly don't want people to blame Obama or even Trump or anybody else. When you are presented with facts and data and information, it's up to us to process that and then determine what we want to do with it. The system was not ready at the time for this conversation. It simply wasn't. And I think had he have brought this discussion up before, he probably would have been labeled like a lot of people were labeled at the time. And, it's a shame. I applaud him for having this conversation now, just like I do Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Warner and Senator Harry Reid and everybody else. Look, this is a bipartisan issue. It's a nonpartisan issue. It doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal or anybody else. This pertains to all of us. And so to see these leaders, whether you're a former director of national intelligence or former director of CIA, this is a big deal. This is a sign that it's getting easier to talk about, easier to have this conversation. And I don't think the genie's going to go back into the bottle at this point.
All right. Well, John Podesta, according to an article listed on Politico.com today, or just a couple of days ago, has basically said and reached out to President Biden saying, release the X-Files. Is this a matter of all of these people who believed in this subject, which includes yourself, now putting that pressure on, saying, let's get it out. It's time. The 70 years of secrecy is over.
Well, yeah, and I think, we're at a point where we can't ignore the evidence. We can't ignore the impeccable reputation of these brave pilots coming forward. And by the way, for every pilot that comes forward, there's 10, 20 more behind them that haven't come out yet, but I think they will. The evidence has been there for a long time, but it's getting to a point now where it's becoming irrefutable and you can't ignore it. It becomes a liability. This is what I've said before, the longer you keep quiet on this topic, early on, if you keep it secret, yeah, there might be a short-term benefit, but long-term, it's not a benefit. And I've always, of course, said that this is not a conversation like fine wine, where the longer you keep a cork on it, the better it gets. This is more of a conversation like rotten vegetables in the refrigerator, and it's really beginning to stink. And the longer you leave it in there and you don't address the problem, the worse it's going to be. So I think that's where we are. And the problem is if the government ignores this much longer, that secret that they held actually starts working towards the government's disadvantage, because it comes to a tipping point where people don't believe their government. The government no longer has credibility with the people. And that's dangerous, because once an institution or an organization no longer is recognized to have those authorities vested in it by the people, and people have lose their faith and confidence in that organization, then the organization's days are numbered. Look at Rome. So I think people are aware of the government that there needs to be a solution very quickly. We need to have a conversation quickly about this, even if we don't have all the facts and data yet, and get the conversation going, because at some point this is going to backfire. And you can see it now in the press. It's already starting to look bad on the gatekeepers, on those who were keeping the secrets for too long. It's now working to their disadvantage.
Is it a threat? Is it not a threat? This is a big topic that we still have in this entire forum, in this entire discussion. You have recently, that I've heard, have been kind of leaning towards the fact that maybe it's not a threat, but we still can't rule that out. Is your attitude changing on the threat narrative?
Look, I don't want to tell anybody what to think. This is exactly the problem with ufology today. Everybody wants to know how do I think? Well, don't ask me. Don't be lazy. You think for yourself. Here's the facts. It absolutely can be a threat, but we haven't seen anything on our side that necessarily seems provocative, other than incurring into U.S. airspace, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it, and an interest in our nuclear technology. If this was a foreign adversary, would it be a threat? Yes, absolutely. But if this turns out not to be a foreign adversary, then it's anybody's game. And I've said this for the record so many times. Look, there is a potential for it to be a threat. I don't know how many times to say it. The potential exists. You can bury your head in the sand and pretend, no, Santa Claus is real. There's no threat out there. Fine. Believe that. I'm not telling you not to. But I'm telling you from my perspective, I feel there is a potential threat. Now, does that mean it is a real threat, right? Is it a real threat to you and me and everybody else? Well, I don't know. It could be that there are indirect threats, meaning, for example, if like I've told people before, if I go to an airport and I decide to run on the tarmac and stick my head behind the engine while it's, firing up, chances are I'm going to get injured. It's a threat. Now, is that jet engine a threat by itself? No, but there is a potential threat if I, for example, you're flying in a 737 and one of these UAPs come real close to the aircraft. Now the aircraft has to take evasive maneuver. Is that a problem? Well, yeah, it's an air safety issue, right? Is it a direct threat to national security? Well, not necessarily, right? And I just saw someone right up here saying it doesn't mean it's necessarily hostile. That's absolutely correct. Just because something is a threat doesn't mean that it's an intentional threat or that there is a hostile intent behind it. And that's what we need to find out. All I'm proposing is, hey, let's collect the data and figure it out collectively. I'm not going to tell you it is or it isn't a threat because, frankly, we don't know. And that is the problem, because from a governmental perspective, when you say I don't know, then they're always going to err on the side of caution and say, okay, then we're going to presume it could be a threat until we know it's not. And that is the prudent way to do things, whether it's climate change or anything else, or it's a typhoon, these aren't intentional threats. These are consequential threats, if that makes a sense. So that's my 2 cents.
We have 3 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Luis Elizondo is our guest tonight. And I really like that because I'll be honest with you, I was one confused between a threat and something that is maybe just there and could pose a threat. And I think a lot of the public is naive enough to think that threat means that they're coming, they're trying to hit our military, they're trying to take us out, they're playing with our multi-million-dollar aircraft. Doesn't matter if you're in the U.S. or Canada or wherever. And I think a lot of the public gets confused by that terminology when really they need to understand the English language a little bit more.
Look, when the Europeans came over, I know we got a short bit of time, but when the Europeans came over to this country and they infected the indigenous people with smallpox, that wasn't a deliberate threat initially. It was just a consequence of them bringing over a microorganism, and it wound up infecting people who didn't have an immunity for it. It's terrible and it's horrible, and it was absolutely a threat to the indigenous people, but it wasn't a threat to the Europeans who were bringing it over necessarily. And so this is my point. We have to be careful that when we use the threat narrative, we're not fear-mongering. We're not saying, the British are coming and man the guns. What we're simply saying is that there's a huge, great big gap of information. And we need to start asking questions and filling those gaps with data so then we can make a determination whether something really or is not a threat.
All right, Lou Elizondo is our guest tonight. 2 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour here. Lou, as we move forward towards June 25th, there's going to be a lot more media, a lot more hype. Will we see more videos coming out, more information?
Well, I think you're for sure going to see more information. The videos is not up to me. Yeah, there are more videos. I mean, I've been saying that forever, and of course, more videos are coming out. There's more videos, but it's not up to me to release it. I'm certainly not going to leak those videos. I'm not going to encourage anybody to leak those videos because it is an illegal act. And if you have a security clearance, that's jail time. But what I am going to do is encourage the government to try to find a way to have them declassified and release them for public consumption. And that is something I will always encourage.
Are we going to be surprised? Is there anything in there that's going to be more reactive than what we've seen so far? Is there something that's going to catch our eyes that that could be coming out?
Boy, that's Dave. That's a loaded question. I suspect probably. Without telling too much. I mean, look, this has to be very, very, very carefully done. And I'm a very deliberate person. I try not to speak for the sake of speaking. If I have something to say, I'll say it. Otherwise, I'm just going to be quiet and let others talk. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot. And I'll just put it that way.
Well, that's a good way to end it right before we got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour, leaving us with all pins and needles as we now have to wait for a potential really juicy video to come out and maybe a photograph. We don't know. But the man, the myth, and the legend in the UFO world is here tonight. Luis Elizondo, we have him for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. And we're going to get into a lot of the good stuff that's coming up. We got to get into the IGs. What's happening with the Pentagon? Who's he going to drop an elbow on next? Because That first half hour was fiery. Luis Elizondo, another half an hour. Hour 2, Sean Cahill, a jam-packed show here on Spaced Out Radio as we talk UFOs and UAP all night long. Well, you broke our record.
What's that?
For live
monologue?
For live on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're the new record holder.
I thought you were going to say for a record for the most boring monologue.
No way,
Sorry.
man.
Yeah.
No way. So, excuse me. I know we have a lot of new people who may not have seen our show live before. I do want to remind people that if you're new here, we are a live radio show that is going out to our terrestrial affiliates, and that is why we're taking a commercial break. You get to see behind the scenes with everything that goes on. Oh, 274 we just hit. That's kind of cool. I'm keeping track here because it's kind of a cool thing. But I just want to remind you, we are a live radio show as well as broadcasting live on YouTube and Twitch and Periscope and Twitter. And so I appreciate you understanding. And if you're new here, please do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate your love and your support here on Spaced Out Radio, and really appreciating everybody kind of tuning us in, figuring it out. Now, I know there's been a couple of comments from new people in our room. Dave, get your eyes on the camera. Why aren't you focusing on Lou? It's rude. I'm a one-man show. I am producing. I am watching the clocks. I am watching the chat room for what you guys are saying, so that way I can put them on the screen. I'm a one-man show, so hopefully I'm not disappointing you guys too much. But for the new people out there, this is what we do on a nightly basis. And do us a favor and show some support. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you, Lou. Now I can breathe.
If I can real quick, too, while we're on break, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your audience. But I also want to thank the group of people. You mentioned this earlier. Behind every individual success, there's a team of people behind that person that is working tirelessly behind the scenes. And I have that. I've got a core group of about 5 or 6 people that I consider not only my friends but my confidants. And Sean Cahill is one of them. I'll just say the first names, to protect the innocent. But Jess and Jake and Chris and a few others that have been instrumental in helping me do this, because no one person can do this by themselves. And I can assure you, and my success and our success is directly related to their help and assistance. And they never get credit for this, but I want to let your listeners know that everything you are seeing playing out today is a direct result of the work that they've been doing tirelessly behind the scenes.
And I know a couple of those people. And by the way, Jess, if you're tuned in, I will be emailing you tomorrow again in response to the email that you sent me back. So thank you. And yes, I've got to know Sean a little bit over the last few months here, and I can attest. I think he's a pretty damn good guy, and I got a lot of respect for him. And like I said, I'm jealous of his hair and beard combination. But what am I supposed to do? But we've got about 2 minutes here. 2 minutes. The audience is absolutely loving you. I'm trying to get as many, I don't know if you could read them down there, but I'm trying to get as many messages from them to you here.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I look to your audience for strength all the time, and same with the folks on Twitter. I've developed a pretty strong personal bond with the UFO Twitter ethos, if you will, and every person on there. I wish I had a chance to thank every one of them. I do read all their comments. I make sure that I do, even the ones that aren't very nice. I think it's important to hear everybody's opinion. So thank you all for contributing to the conversation and being part of this.
I got to admit, that was the first time in that last half hour that I've ever seen you fired up, and I like it. I like that, seeing that side of you, and I think it really humanizes you quite a bit. You know, it's good to see you have some emotion, because I know for a long time you got to be. I know what it's like to be in the media, and you got to be the same way every time for everything. And I think you showing some relaxation and just showing some emotion, I think it's fantastic. Thank you for doing that.
Well, Dave, thank you for having the patience. I spent a career with these hands, destroying people's lives in the name of national security, and I really am trying to spend the last half of my life trying to put human beings back together again.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna
So
do that.
forgive me for if I try not to get animated too much, but
right. 1 second here, my friend, because we're gonna get going here in 5 seconds. Thank you to the super chatters out there, and here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio right now. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are in this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Luis Elizondo is here. We have until the top of the hour. And Lou, I want to ask you about these IGs. We had Daniel Sheehan on last night, and basically Daniel said, Lou can come out and say whatever he wants about this because it's all under control. It's all happening. Do you feel a sense of conviction by going through these IGs and taking on the powers that be?
Well, I appreciate Mr. Sheehan saying I can say what I want, but there's a difference between saying what I can say versus what I should say. And so I want to make sure I try to remain as constructive as possible. Vindication is nothing that was never a motivation. I didn't get into this to be vindicated. Does it feel good? Truth be told, Dave, I haven't had a chance to relax for even a moment long enough to look at what that means. I'm too focused on the next target. I'm too focused on the next milestone. Every ground, every mile that we gain is ground for disclosure. And I don't want to lose that ground. I want to keep the momentum. And so if I were to just sit even for a few moments and sit back and say, oh, gee, wow, look, I'm vindicated. It's precious time lost. Maybe I suppose at some point in the future when I'm not doing this and someone else more competent and capable is doing it, which I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can do it better than me. Then maybe I'll sit back with a glass of wine or a beer and say, wow, golly, that it feels nice, but I haven't had that luxury yet. I'm too focused on moving the ball down the field.
Why did you feel that it was important to file these IGs?
Well, look, the Inspector General is there for a reason. They are an oversight body, and they report directly to the Secretary of Defense. They are the right mechanism to do an internal review if there is dysfunction in an organization. And, I've said oftentimes before, I'm doing my best to make the system work before I go in and I have to break furniture and do things like that. I don't want to do that. Will I? Sure. I will absolutely do what I have to do to make sure that this conversation continues. And I've had a lot of people come to me and say, well, Lou, shoot, I heard that you might run for Congress. Well, you know what? You push me hard enough, I damn sure will. There's a lot of problems right now in the government. This is just indicative of one, but there's about 100 of these issues that we could talk about for the next year, and nobody's doing a damn thing about it. And look, you guys you're paying, whether you're in Canada or here in the United States. Look, you pay your tax dollars, and you trust your government to do the right thing and to represent your interests. And when the government forgets that. When the government no longer realizes it serves the people, right? The people don't serve the government, then we've got a serious problem on our hands. And sometimes, like I said before, a real patriot sometimes has to do things that don't seem very patriotic. But you do them because it's the right thing, because you do love your country, and you love your citizens, and you love what this whole idea stands for. I put my life on the line, and I saw people die for that dream, and that if you will, that spirit of what this country stands for. And when there are people there that forget that oath and forget what they are there to do, and instead take their responsibilities, and instead they prioritize privilege over responsibility, then I've got an issue with that. I don't care where that lies. I don't care if that tyranny lies in the Middle East or in the jungles of South America or in the halls of the Pentagon. It's got to be rooted out. That no longer represents the will of the people. And so as long as that dysfunction exists, I will continue to commit myself to fight it, because I don't think people realize in some cases how dysfunctional it is. There are a lot of things that work well. And I'm not saying we go in there with a blowtorch and melt the whole thing down. What I'm simply saying is that there are elements there that are absolutely broken, and they're broken really bad. And we need to go in and fix them. And sometimes that takes a very hard conversation, but you have to do it. And so it's a commitment. And I don't know how to explain it to somebody who's never felt that way before. I'm not expecting everybody to. I come from a long line of revolutionaries. Maybe that's the problem. My grandfather was a revolutionary. My father was in the Bay of Pigs, and was a POW. Of course, I was in the military and saw my fair share of conflict. Maybe it's just in my blood. I don't know, but I feel very passionately about it. I feel that the people deserve better.
I want to ask you about your NDAs that you have. Have people on the inside who you are trying to get onto the disclosure side of everything come at you and threaten you about your NDAs?
Yeah, absolutely. No, in fact, I want to be careful how far I go down, but yeah, there's people that are definitely trying to conduct administrative terrorism on me, what we call admin terrorism, trying to find loopholes in the policies and rules and procedures to say, gotcha, Lou. You said something you shouldn't have, and try to jeopardize my security clearance, and try to bend the rules and policies to say, oh, Lou, you didn't follow the rules and policies, when really in reality they're the ones not following the rules and policies. I have had people conduct retribution and abuse their authority and power to do that. When I was in the government, I never would have dreamed of doing that. We focused our time and attention on the enemy, not whistleblowers, not people inside the system that were trying to make it better. And now that I'm I'm no longer in the government, although I'm affiliated to some degree, I still have my clearance. They're still trying to come after me, and I resent that, because if they're going to do that to me, Dave, look, they're going to do it to somebody else. At least I have the resources and the will to fight it, because I really don't like bullies very much. But there's people out there that don't have that capability, and they just get steamrolled. And I won't stand for that.
Maybe this is too personal. Is it political parties that are maybe segregated in this topic? Is it the military offices that are segregated, trying to shut you up? Or is it just a group of people who, as you said on the last time you were on this show, this is a divided topic. You got 50% who don't want anything to do with this. You got 50% who say, let's get it out there. So is it political at this point?
I think it's everything. I think it's political. I think it's psychological. I think it's sociological. I think it's philosophical. I think it's bureaucratic. I will tell you, for the most part, there's probably 3 or 4 individuals primarily that I'm aware of that have gone well above and beyond, have what I would consider dereliction of duty, that have used their positions in an unauthorized manner. And it's unfortunately, it comes down to just human traits that little devil that every one of us has inside of us, whether it's pride or ego or anything else, that says, hey, I should have known about this program and I didn't. And so therefore, since you didn't tell me, I'm going to make your life complicated, not realizing there were reasons why I couldn't tell certain people about this program. But that will all come out in the wash. I can assure you. At some point, this is all, I suspect, will come out, and everybody's going to get the public will ultimately be the jury here, right? And they're going to see for themselves what transpired.
Okay, for you, as you move forward, are you being protected by people in the Pentagon or higher up in government to make sure that you can keep speaking?
There are some very good people, some very influential people that have helped out. First and foremost, Senator Harry Reid, bar none. I will also say, without going to specifics, one of the individuals I respect greatly has always been Secretary Jim Mattis, General Mattis. And he was in a position at one point who he could have completely buried this whole thing, and he didn't. He did absolutely the right thing. And there were other people that worked for him that came out to my defense and stated for the record behind closed doors what this program was about and what we found and what my role was. And so there are good people there. Senator Marco Rubio, I don't know what anybody's political leanings are. I tend to be rather apolitical myself, but he's a hero for coming out. I mean, the guy's got a lot to lose, and he is sitting here going out on a limb and telling everybody, hey, this is a real topic. Forget about politics. Forget about conservatives and liberals and all that stuff. For just a moment, just think of the notion that a human being is coming out who's got a lot to lose politically, right? Who may even run for president one day and says, you know what? I'm willing to risk it to have this conversation. That's someone that I can support. Both on the liberal side, conservative side, both parties, that brings people together. And you're seeing this coalescing right now, this alliance of the willing, this coalition of the willing to ask the hard questions. And you see the media now, people in the media who 2 years ago wouldn't have touched this with a 10-foot pole, and they're putting their careers on the line, and they're saying, you know what, I'm willing to report on this, knowing that it could end my career in the media. So, this journey is really that I'm on is really a journey that a lot of people on. There's people in your audience right now that are having conversations around the water cooler who a year ago people thought they were crazy. And now people are coming up to them and saying, hey, Joe, hey, Jane, listen, remember that conversation you had with me last year? Was that real? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of stuff on the news. Do you mind sharing a little bit with me? How do you know? What can I read? Where can I start to learn about this, right? So this is why I said this is really becoming a movement, a global movement that we're all part of. No one owns the narrative. No one owns this. I'm right now on center stage, but I can assure you, I'm not the guy in front, because when I look to my left and I look to my right, I see millions of people. We're all in this together. We are a united front. And this is what I keep trying to tell people. It's not about me. It's about us. It's about we. It's about ours. This is our journey. This is not Luis Elizondo's journey. This is something that concerns every one of us the same, differently and yet the same.
We have 10 minutes. We got to talk June 25th. 29 days. This is going to be either delayed, we're either going to be disappointed, or we're going to be in a one holy cow moment. I know the last time you were on, you were expressing concern that there isn't enough time for this full report to come out. Do you still feel that way now, or is it coming out no matter what?
Look, if the report comes out, I'm just brace yourself. It's not going to be what people expect. It's because a lot of things. There are organizations that I've talked to back channel that said we were never even asked. We weren't asked. Even though this is something that went through the DOD and the DNI, I have colleagues that are still in saying, I never saw a single request come across my desk. And I'm the guy who's got data, right? So I think that's important. If I can address this real quick, someone says here, did Lou notice the laughing and snickering at the White House press? You know what I noticed? I noticed an elected official laughing when they were asked about this topic. And let me just say for a second here, I personally don't give a damn who you are. Okay, if you in any position you are elected to represent the will of the people, that is your job. Point one. Two, we have restricted airspace in this country for a reason. And if you think it's a laughing matter that we have things that are flying in restricted airspace and there's nothing we can do about it, fine. But then you might as well get rid of all the restricted airspace we have. Who cares if planes fly over the White House? Because you know what? It's restricted airspace and you don't care. So I'm not sure that same type of laughter that people have would be the same if these things were flying over Washington, D.C. Okay, I think you'd have a completely, because now it's on their turf. Now it's on their territory. What they don't realize is that our brave men and women in uniform are seeing these things, and they're not that far away from Washington, D.C. So, laugh it up if you want, but we take the sovereignty of our country seriously. And so I would just say to anybody out there, I would encourage you not to laugh this topic off. This is certainly not a laughing matter.
Okay, back to June 25th. You're saying that we shouldn't be prepared for anything because anything could really happen. Is there a chance that we could see President Biden address this subject after or before that date?
Anything's possible. I'm certainly not going to speak on behalf of the president. The president has a lot of issues he's dealing with right now, and by no means would I ever assume to know what the president is thinking or what he intends to do. That is certainly his right and privilege. But he's already been asked. He's already been asked once. The reaction wasn't quite what I was expecting or hoping for. But then again, I'm not the president. But this is for me. This is why I want. This is why I want change. It doesn't matter if we are talking about, in this case, UAPs, or we're talking about some sort of climate change issues, or we're talking about the environment, or we're talking about anything else. These aren't laughing matters. There's a lot at stake. And I understand that tends to be the first reaction of a lot of people, is just kind of chuckle a little bit because you're uncomfortable answering a question. I got it. I'm not saying you can't be uncomfortable. What I'm saying is you have to be as honest. You have to be truthful, and that's my 2 cents, if you will, maybe 3.
Okay, maybe a personal question. I'm going to ask it anyways because I'd be silly if I didn't. Have you addressed President Biden?
I have not addressed our president, President Biden. I have not.
Vice President?
You know what? I'm going to stop there. I don't want to, out of due respect to anybody in the executive branch and the legislative branch, I don't want to. I think at some point, if we go down this line of questioning, I'll probably get put into a spot I'm not going to feel comfortable answering.
That's fine.
Just out of respect for them.
I hope you respect. I have to ask the question.
Yeah, no, I don't take it personally. Don't take it. I'm not angry. I just, I want to make sure that I'll put the barrier up there, and hopefully we can.
Oh, absolutely. We have 5.5 minutes with you tonight, Lou, and I appreciate that. At any point, do you see in the next 25 days that there is going to be any sort of government get-together, because this is a bipartisan event, or other countries coming on board, whether it's Canada, the UK, Australia, allies of the United States, coming together and starting to support this entire cause?
Dave, that's a great question. That's a great question, and probably ask me in 3 months, if you catch my drift. That
would be a hint, people. That would be a hint, because
I have been known to leave Easter eggs when I do these chats.
Yes.
So that's a pretty obvious one, I think.
Well,
maybe 4 months, but certainly in the not too distant future.
I'll tell you why I asked that. I got really pissed off the other day, Lou, when I was watching a CTV, Canadian television reporter, have a great 12-minute interview with your good friend Chris Mellon, and not once did that reporter ask anything about the Canadian military or the Canadian government's involvement with this subject. It was straight on the U.S. Here you have, I know you've been interviewed by Canadian television and media outlets, and here Chris has now as well. You have a reporter from a country talking about everything that's happening in the States and forgets the country that they are living in and where they come from.
Well, because it's an easier conversation to have. Remember, because now you're reporting on someone else's information. The moment you start talking about your own country, that gets personal. And now there's some sense of ownership and liability there. So that's deliberate, because as long as we talk, and look, the U.S. is already talking about, so I can ask the U.S., it's a lot different. It's a different story when you take that story home and you start asking those same questions to people in your own country. And that's not just a Canada thing. That's a U.S. thing. Most countries are kind of that way.
But do you obviously see this is starting to become international? This is becoming a world issue now, not a United States Navy issue or an American airspace issue. That was your goal all along.
Yeah, it's never been a U.S. issue. It's always been a global phenomenon. But the conversation had to start somewhere, and we needed, a country that could lead the discussion and let other countries know it's okay. Like now you see Japan coming out and entering into agreements with the United States on this topic, and then there's a handful of other countries that are now stepping forward and testing the waters. And I suspect they have a UAP issue of their own. Someone had to step forward. Someone had to be the first one to say, okay, I'll take the stick on this. It just happened to be us. But there's other countries out there in South America and Europe and other places that treat this topic completely different. They look at this topic very, very seriously. I had a chance to go see Uruguay and Argentina and Peru and some of these other countries, and they definitely, they definitely take these topics very seriously, and they have their government's support and funding behind it. So in many ways, they're significantly ahead of us.
2 minutes to go with you. What can the public expect from you and the message before June 25th?
Wow. I think you can expect me to keep fighting. You can expect me to keep hollering and howling. And as I said before, the more people try to muzzle me, the louder I'm going to be. You can expect that. That hasn't changed. I will continue to try to use the system to the best that I can with the processes that are in place so the system can work. I don't want to break this system. I want to fix the system. And there are mechanisms internal to the system that can be used to try to fix it. I hate to tear the engine out and do a complete overhaul if all I have to do is maybe change a couple spark plugs, here and there. So I'm trying exhaust every possible opportunity that I can in order that we get resolution on this topic.
At any point, does that discussion switch from military to the public with these sightings?
Yes. Look, at some point, this topic is only involves the military and the intelligence community from a national security perspective. The other 80% of this conversation shouldn't even be in the government's hands. It should belong to the citizens of the world. We need our academics, and we need our scientists, and we need our theologians, and we need our philosophers, and we need our teacher. We need everybody in the conversation. I don't want the government determining for me how I should think about this topic. Who the hell? Screw you. That's not their job. They do our bidding, not the other way around. And I damn sure I'm not going to give the government the authority to think on my behalf and tell me how I should think about this topic. Their job should stay a nice, neat little box. Their job is to determine, is this a national security threat? Yes or no? Anything above and beyond that, it ain't your job. It's not. We need to get other people involved in the conversation.
Mr. Luis Elizondo, thank you so much for a quick 1 hour with you on this show. We look forward to having you on again in the future and keep the push going. Keep the fight going for the public. Thank you.
David, it's been my pleasure, and thank you to your wonderful audience. I truly mean it. I am doing this because I feel enjoined to. I feel that they they give me the motivation every morning to wake up, even if it's only after a couple hours of sleep, and put my pants on and do this. So thank you very much.
All right, Luis Elizondo, everybody. Coming up next, we're going to continue the UFO conversation with the greatest hair and beard in ufology right now. Mr. Sean Cahill will join us when we come back. Hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. You hammered my record. My old record was 248 live, and we hit 355. So thank you. I appreciate
Dave,
that.
Dave, my pleasure. And again, sincerely, thank you to you and your audience. I really do appreciate it. This is a privilege for me to have this conversation. I've told people before, I do major media outlets, and I do podcasts that have one follower. It's not a matter of people who follow or subscribers to me. It's just about having the conversation with everyday, ordinary people like myself, and letting people know that they do make a difference. They can make a difference. You know what I mean?
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
I
appreciate you.
We'll talk soon. Go get some sleep.
Oh, yeah. You got it. I got to be up again, but we'll do. Thanks much.
Take care. All right. Mr. Luis Elizondo, everyone. Sean Cahill, look at that hair and beard combination, people. Look at that. Sean, I'm just going to step away for a minute here. I'm going to put you on blackout. I'll be right back, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Be right back, public. Be right back. Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good. Remember, YouTube can hear us?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, YouTube.
Yeah. All right. Wow, that was powerful.
Yeah, that was invigorating, man. He was on fire.
That I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. That emotion. It's nice to see him humanized.
It's been a hell of a week.
Here's a comment. Look at the beards. Good gods. Oh, yeah. It's the way we roll, dirty filth. It's the way we roll.
I'm in the wrong window. That's why I'm confused. There we go. Hey, now we're live.
All right. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic. All right, we're going to come back here in 30 seconds. I want to say thank you to everyone who has hit that subscribe button tonight. Everybody who's rang that bell. Thank you to all our new subscribers for tuning in. Thank you to all of our regulars who are here every night hanging on out. We really do appreciate it. And, of course, thank you to all the super chatters out there who have hit that super chat button. We really do appreciate it here on Spaced Out Radio and enjoying this show and this broadcast to you. The UFO Continuum continues here with Sean Cahill. And like I said, the best hair and beard in the business right now. I know he hates that, but I'm going there. That's what I do. That's what I do. So I appreciate you stepping on in here, my friend. And by the way, thanks for a great conversation yesterday. It's got me doing some thinking. I'll keep that.
Well, we spent longer on the phone than we are on the air. So.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to say thank you to everyone tuned in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free for you by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Jujinator. I don't even know what it is, but the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight. Heavy UFO talk. First hour, we had Luis Elizondo. If you missed that, you're going to want to listen to that in our archives. Now joining us is Sean Cahill. And in my opinion, and I could have this wrong, but he's literally the right-hand man to Lou and helping get this entire phenomena going. You've seen him on the press recently with Chris Cuomo on CNN and other major news outlets. Sean, thank you so much for joining us.
It's always a pleasure to be here with you, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, really well. I was a little caught off guard by the emotion that Lou was showing in that first hour, because usually he's very uniform, he's very upright, he's very honest with his answers, he's watching what he's saying. But tonight, I'll be honest with you, this is the first time I've really felt him release emotionally, and that kind of caught me off guard.
You know, I don't think by any stretch that we've won the war, but we've taken some territory that I don't think we're going to have to give back, and I feel like that's the first time that's happened, possibly in this subject. So I think some of the emotion you're seeing from us isn't just the fatigue from the operational tempo that we're keeping with the media hits. I think it's also because we're giving ourselves just a little bit of room to feel the possibility of a success, not long enough to lose sight of the target and the pitfalls that are in our way. But you may be seeing a little bit of us allowing the possibility that this is going to work, that people are going to listen.
You have all of a sudden decided to step out and become one of the faces of this entire program. And as I stated just moments ago, you've been on CNN and other media outlets talking about this subject. Why have you decided, Sean, to all of a sudden take that step and move forward in front of the media camera?
Frankly, it's kind of a path of least resistance. I've assisted a lot of our projects in the past. Some of the ones that have recently been on television, assisted producers and staff behind the scenes. And a lot of times it'll begin with them wanting to interview me, and I'll often actually talk them out of it because there are more impactful stories and people to talk to in those short amount of time. So I end up helping them understand a landscape that perhaps they've never seen or taken seriously before. But what you're seeing now is the fact that this has opened up so much that this isn't, I've said in my tweets, folks, and I know you say why now too, but the why now, you and I both know we've been working on this for a long time. The why now is because we finally got in front of the camera in this fashion.
Okay, for people who may not be familiar with you, you were on the USS Princeton when this event happened in 2004. Had you seen a UFO previous to that, or was this your first instance of being in contact or seeing this type of phenomena?
At the time, I had considered myself someone who had seen UFOs before. I didn't consider myself someone who knew what those were or anything. I felt like, I hate to say it like this, but I felt like a normal person. I'd seen stuff that I couldn't identify. I'd had some weird experiences. Now, after spending 3 years completely living in this subject 24/7, I realized that I've had an interesting life, I think a lot of people might say. You and I have talked about a little bit of it. I don't want to go too in depth into it until this subject is safely ensconced in academia and we have a permanent structure around us. But yeah, I've seen stuff.
So for you, seeing this come out and seeing the way that this is now rolling, did you ever think that you would be at the forefront of this entire publicity of the publicity stunt of the UFOs? I hate to call it a stunt, but it's just, that's kind of what it is right now with everything that's going on.
I understand where you're coming from, and I can understand why people would say that. I mean, us as quote unquote insiders know that this has been a great deal of effort to get off of the circuit and out of the niche and to get in front of people with a serious conversation. But no. This is a subject that I enjoyed when I was a child. It's a subject that after the Tic Tac, I kind of put on the shelf because I had taken a different approach than a lot of people do after their sightings. I'd become more of a materialist. I kind of denied it. But to think that this would be my job, my passion, frankly, my life. I mean, I don't really talk about anything else. It's actually kind of a problem. So, I'm blown away. I don't think about it. I just kind of try to respond.
Okay, now let's get into it, because there's a real human side to this, and this is a topic, and there are very few, Sean, that will affect every person on this planet. This is one of them. When it comes out that whatever these things are, whether they're from the stars or whether they're from Russia or China, that this is happening. There's new technological advancements. How do we get people involved? How do we get people in the know in understanding that this phenomena, whatever it is out there, and we need to start accepting it?
Well, Lou talked about myself and a couple of our friends being there to support him, and we've started something in the background, and part of one of our what we call verticals for that is education. It's outreach, it's education, and it's we're creating what's called a primer in our organization, where we've taken sightings, military sightings, sightings that are verifiable, that have enough triangulation and points of data that they were ensconced in the record as being unknown. And we want to give people a better understanding that though that there may have never been an overarching entity in the government that could look at this from the 50,000 foot view and understand it, as we start pulling people out, start pulling information out of these stovepipes, there's a picture to be seen already, even before the UAPTF gives its report out. there is a pragmatic way to look at this and create a timeline and an understanding of at least what we've known in the last 50 years.
Okay, so for the public who may not understand, and I have been very passionate about this lately, and I know you and I have had this discussion off the air, I am actually worried, Sean, about the public perception. Okay, because I don't think people are prepared to find out what this reality is. We're too ensconced in our own lifestyles with the 2.1 children, the house with the mortgage and the dog, the 2 cats, and the vehicles in the driveway, and whatever toys and vacations we could take. We aren't really looking at the bigger picture here. And that's something that you always have to remind me is, Dave, look at the bigger picture. But I'm part of that public too who is trying to, but I haven't got it yet. But there's millions of people just in North America alone who haven't even tuned into this subject yet. You know, is there a reason that we should be concerned about anything once this goes public if all of a sudden, you know, whether it's after June 25th or a couple of years down the road, we see, you know, people starting to talk and the President of the United States maybe stands up at the podium and says, my fellow Americans, we are not alone. You know, I mean, this is reality that we're talking about, or potential reality.
I used to think for a long time that and I know we're in general, we're talking about the American public or Western society or however we want to phrase it. If we're talking about the whole world too, that's fine. But in this society, I used to think that we couldn't handle it. I used to think the same thing that you did, that we were way too caught up in the minutia of our daily lives. The Buddhists call it monkey mind, runaway train mind, where you're just reacting constantly. But the one thing that's kind of changed my mind on that is the fact that, number one, most of the major religions seem ready to like hang their shingle out and own this subject. And so that immediately tells me that there's a certain portion of the population that's going to be ready already. If those institutions are willing to pivot, if the Vatican is willing to have the conversation already and they're just quietly waiting on the sides and these other institutions are ready, then they already have a belief system that's wrapped around this. Now, I believe in a separation of church and state. I know not every country in the world believes in that, but whatever my thought processes and beliefs are, I could never imagine pushing those on another person and creating national or international policies based on a belief system. So that's one of the reasons that I preach, not to mix all these metaphors, but that I preach so much about us figuring this out on our own, not taking too many people's word for things. And I'll cut right to the chase. You and I talk about where the experiencer community interfaces with what I see as like now the prime time subject, the one that we're willing to talk about in front of everyone. And we still need to find out where those two things meet. But that's where I think I've told you before, I'm concerned that it's going to get confusing, because a lot of people who are experiencers consider themselves to know what's going on. And I've told you before, one of my concerns is the fact that I can rarely get a few of them in a room and have any of them agree. So we're going to have to figure out what that means. Why do we have so many narratives in the community that have belief systems wrapped around them? And then, a lot of it is, there's a lot of clubs, there's a lot of inclusiveness to it, and I get that. But we got to figure out what's real now.
Okay, so the question is, what is real? We know the phenomena is real. We hear all the time, whether it's Lou, whether it's Chris Mellon or others talking about, we don't know if it's Russia or China. We don't know if it's an adversary elsewhere. Are we getting closer to the fact of narrowing down who, what, where, when, why when it comes to these craft that are being seen?
Well, I think so. I think some of us would be willing to say that some of these are definitely not China and not Russia. I know Lou's willing to say that in some cases that's pretty obvious to us. I think what we're seeing here is a conflation of the fact that in these 10 and 15 minute hits and even shorter on media, we have an hour to talk here. But when you see something shoved into media and you've got 5 videos in a montage over a course of 10 seconds, a person like Chris Mellon is going to know those are playing right there and know that what he says is going to be construed to apply to what's on the screen, and all of these things, if we could focus on one thing at a time. We're not there yet in multimedia. They don't know the names of these things beyond Roswell. They haven't heard of Rendlesham. They haven't heard of Colaris. They haven't heard of all of these, interesting and different, famous sightings that ufology has heard of. All they know is Tic Tac, Gimbal, and Go Fast. So I think we're gonna get there. I think the public is ready for prime time disclosure. The spectrum of the psychology that's going to end up surrounding this 20 years from now, I think our understanding is going to be very different. So are they ready for the full suite of the psychology? No, but I don't think our society operates that way. I mean, we got people that are very uninformed and unaware of the world at large. We've got people and tribes across the world that don't even know that the other continents exist for the most part. We're a very diverse species. Those of us who are hooked into the internet constantly think we got it going on. But I've spent some time out in the wilderness in the last 5 months, and I'd be pretty darn happy turning all this stuff off and never thinking about it again. I don't know if I would ever think of UFOs ever again if I turned it all off.
I don't think you could stay away. I don't.
I've been told that by other people too.
I don't, because in the end, okay, you have seen UFOs before, or UAP, whatever you want to call them. And I think that you are like me and every other experiencer, and I'll put the onus on us as experiencers, that you want to know what you saw. You want to know what happened. Like, I know for me, when I was with Samantha Mowat and had the sighting that I saw, I want to know what that is. I know I wasn't hallucinating. I know Samantha wasn't hallucinating because we saw the same thing. And there are thousands, tens of thousands of people just like me and Samantha, and in our people in our chat room who have had these experiences that we just want to know, why me? Why will we ever get that answer? Is that answer even out there, or is this just the tiniest step in a longer process that'll last way beyond our lives, that the answer maybe 100, 200, 1,000 years from now will finally come out?
I'm gonna risk something here. I'm gonna tell a story to answer you. Okay.
All right.
We were going for a hike. We were out on the edge of the Bureau of Land Management. We're going to be hiking a couple of miles into this valley, chatting about work, and we were taking some time off to catch some fresh air. As we pulled up in a big black truck, all black matte truck, we're pulling in through this herd of about 100 beautiful black cattle. Okay, we pull up and we park, and as we're driving directly through the center of these cattle, they're 5 or 6 feet away. They're all very, very chill. Only like 2 of them out of 100 are looking at us, and I'm taking note of this. And now we stop and we get out of the truck. Those 2 are still looking at me. The other 100 are not. And I realized they don't even know we're there. They didn't even notice the truck, but only 2 of them did. Now then I got kind of snarky, man, because I realized, oh my God, that's us when we see UAP. Now I decided to have a mass sighting out there. So I cupped my hands around here like this, and I went moo to the whole valley. Now I had 100 cattle looking at me. Okay? And all of those cattle were scared. The 2 that were looking at me before, no fear in their eyes. When that moo stopped ringing in the valley, all the other cows went back to chewing their cud. The 2 fearless ones were still looking at me. So I think if we can see that there is a level of existence below us that we interface with that we don't even understand. And let's not even bring in the fact that we're going to eat those things and drink their milk later tonight, okay?
Right.
But there's got to be a whole level above us that comes in and out of our experience in the same way it happened for those cows. So I think sometimes that's what we're experiencing. And I don't know how we're going to get those answers, because I can stand there all day and tell the cows what's happening, but they ain't hearing it.
Well, and that's a great analogy of the way we do it. But, I mean, it also shows the herd mentality that humans are, that we're not going to, if it's outside of the NFL or up here in Canada, the NHL or the NBA or our latest musical genre or whatever, we're not really interested. We're so focused on looking at our phones. We're so focused on our own personal lives that we're forgetting to even look up at the stars.
That was literally one of the last arguments I had with a beloved family member of mine before we stopped talking as much, was because when I pointed at the television and there was a football game on, we were pouring wine. It was around Thanksgiving and everybody was gossiping. And I basically said, look, I don't care about this crap anymore. I don't care about this crap. And I don't care about this crap we're talking about. There's something larger afoot and not enough people are paying attention to it. And I got the headlights look, the deer in the headlights look, because it was like, what do you mean you don't care about all of this? This is what life is. And I go, I used to think that too.
Right.
But yeah, so.
Okay, so as we got about 4.5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour, Sean, as we start to wake up the herd mentality and people are paying attention, we're starting to see a lot more. I mean, I was laughing a week ago when I saw Oreo cookies tweeting out about UFOs. That's a good thing. That's what we need. Yeah. Is that the goal right now, is to get these people who would normally not talk about this, whether it's the Oreo cookies, whether it's the Cleveland Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield, people talking about this subject regarding how it is real and it's around us. Is that the goal right now?
I think that's an outstanding goal right now. For me, one of the goals has always been to try to make it relevant to the people I'm talking to, and even if it's just that little, breaking the thin veneer of the societal norm, by Oreo and by, I think there was an airline that I saw recently. One of the airlines my wife and I use had a UFO in their ad, and I think it was for flights into Nevada. So I think that's okay. We're not the destigmatization will carry a certain degree of normalization. Now, I think we all expect there to be some kind of gold rush surrounding this. You don't even have to get into the technology before you realize there's going to be alien faces and alien keychains, and we can expect it. Whatever the new fidget spinner is, it's going to be related to UAP. But at the same time, there's going to be still a serious conversation to have. So I'm not afraid of normalization. I'm not afraid of this turning into another societal piece of the machine for humanity. But the big answers still need to come out of this.
Okay, so the fact that we're going to see more people talking about this, it is healthy. It allows it to ingrain into our heads, much like you mentioned with the cows. And as Lou goes forward, as we see more people talking about it, whether it's late night hosts or the media or whomever, is the message going to change soon, even before June 25th? Because right now, it doesn't matter whether it's President Obama or Chris Mellon, we're hearing the same narrative on each show about what they are, how they're flying, the trajectory, the propulsion systems. It just seems to be the same wording over and over again. Will that change?
I think that if that changes, it's going to change based on the data that's presented, because what you're hearing over and over again is based on the data points that we can prove, that have a record, that have triangulation, and that are unclassified. Now, if the UAPTF comes out with a lot more information for us, I believe that'll change the conversation. If other entities within the government are found to have been collecting data, and it's data we weren't familiar with, or it's data that is a paradigm shifter, of course the conversation is going to change. But there's not a script anywhere. There's not it's week 7. We're pushing. I said that 100 to 1,000 year comment the other day, and I've really bit my tongue since then, because I've been quoted as the government, and I'm not. I'm a dude with an opinion that I was asked, but now I understand just how much of a sword that is you're wielding when you're on CNN and Fox and ABC, etc. So this is heavy, man. We need to really open our eyes as adults and grown-ups and as a society and decide, are we gonna treat this the right way? This isn't the British invasion. This isn't the Beatles. It's not the next fad, whether it's going to look like it or not to a lot of people. It's reality.
How do we know? I'll save that question for when we come back from the break, because we only have about 30 seconds here. In the end, when it comes to a quick answer for me, when it comes to June 25th, are you expecting anything juicy out of that?
No, I'm more interested in what I'm not going to see. If I get a negative report, at least I know how I have to up my game. I don't believe in free lunches, and I don't expect presents on Christmas. So yeah, no, I'm ready for a nothing burger, but then I'm ready to turn up the gas.
Well, let's turn up the gas in the next half hours. We got Sean Cahill as our guest for the next half hour to round out hour number 2 in our UFO night. If you missed the first hour with Luis Elizondo, he dropped the gloves. He literally dropped the gloves, and you're going to want to hear that on the replay. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this. I'm going to be honest. This is pretty good shit tonight.
Yeah. No, I'm quite happy, man. It was great seeing Lou fired up and seeing that passion.
Oh yeah.
One of these days I'm going to screenshot you, and then I'm just going to examine your background. Be like, what's he got back?
What do you want? What do you want to see, dude?
I don't know. You got some guitars. You got a lawn gnome. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was made by one of my listeners, the Michael Leger. And then I have my Carl candles here.
Oh yeah, those are fantastic.
Yeah, I just added a new guitar to the collection. It's getting tuned up right now, though.
Yeah, I can tell by the music you listen to and the guitars you have, the style of the kind of guitar you play. The style you like. You're a Steve Vai, Satriani type of guy.
Yeah. What
it's
can
okay.
you do? What can you do? What can you do?
We're all children of our times, man.
Yeah. You want to see
I
something?
got a synthesizer in the corner.
Yeah. Is it the handheld, the guitar? You want to see
No, actually, right behind you, I got a set of Roland drums here in the middle of my an electronic set of Roland drums. Behind that, a MIDI keyboard. It's half movie or half music studio in here.
You want to see something really cool? I'll show you.
Yeah.
This is my baby.
Oh wow, that's gorgeous.
That's it's like I don't know, 10 pounds of sodalite.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's real.
It's got the eyeball
That's
on
impressive. That's really impressive.
Right, there.
Very cool.
Yeah. This is my baby.
Very nice.
Yeah. It's one of my little hidden gems in here.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you could see this little rig that I have set up, I just leave it out, and the wife and kids kind of watch TV around it. But dude, I'm in this little cockpit of lighting and laptop right here.
Nice. Nice. We got about we got a couple minutes yet.
Okay.
What the hell is my mouse? There we go. And yeah. What else can I show you here? What else do you like?
Oh man, I'm sorry. I was about to talk some smack. I should not.
Oh, you can talk some smack.
No, I was going to talk some smack about the chat, but I don't.
Oh yeah, what the hell? They're big people.
Somebody's talking about talking heads and all this other stuff. I'm like, man, get out of here.
I'll show you something cool here quickly. See these cans?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, these were recovered, White Rock grape soda. These are 50 years old, and I actually, on a ghost box, talk about woo, had a spirit say I could remove these from a crash site where 52 people died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the only reason why I took them, is because a ghost on a ghost box said, yes, I could take them.
Dude, EVP is it's fun, it's creepy, it's I don't know, man.
Yeah.
My personal jury is still out on it, but I've
So
had
is
some
mine.
interesting conversations.
That one tripped me out, man. That one tripped me out. Probably the weirdest thing I have in here. Besides my hot sauce bottle collection that you can't see, I've got like 40 bottles, and I got another 20 upstairs.
You make your own?
No,
It's really easy to make hot sauce.
no, I just make it too hot, too stupid. One day, if this show ever blows up, there will be a spaced out hot sauce.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it'll be brutal too, absolutely brutal. All right,
Just make sure it tastes good. Remember, it has to taste good. Can't just be hot.
exactly. All right, we've got about, I think, 35, 40 seconds here. And Gene wants to know quickly, as we got about 20 seconds, what instruments do you play?
Guitar, bass, keyboard, now drums, and I sing horribly.
Excellent. And how many piano key ties do you have?
0.
Yeah, bullshit. Bullshit on that one. Sean just lied to us, people. He's got at least 4. Here we go.
No.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on the UFO talk tonight. Sean Cahill is with us. He is right front and center, along with Luis Elizondo, regarding the whole UAP phenomena. Sean, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. Earlier, right before the break, we were talking about the people, whether or not people around the planet are going to accept this entire phenomena as happening. You're starting to change on that. What is the attitude around the people you are talking to behind the scenes? Because as Lou stated in hour one, this is still a very divided topic within the military branches, within the government itself.
It's really interesting to see professionals, people that we didn't expect to be able to have this conversation, to watch their light bulb flip on pretty quickly. Some of the rational acceptance that I've seen at the higher levels is pretty impressive, actually. And the ability to immediately shift into, well, now we have to look at what this means for us as leaders in society or government or military, et cetera. And what does this mean? How do we inform our leaders above us and our constituency as to how to move forward? It's so brand new, but it's impressive. It really is impressive, because what I see behind the scenes has been a sea change. It really has been something very, very different from before. I mean, I don't like saying it like this because it feels like bragging, but I hit 5 continents in the last week, and I wasn't ridiculed on any of these shows by anyone whatsoever. And that would have been unheard of even a year ago.
Very true. Very true. So for you, as someone who is fighting to get this phenomena out there, what are we as the public missing leading up to June 25th? What should we be looking for?
What is the public missing? Well, they're missing some key foundational facts that I think they're going to expect out of this report. But if they had them first, it would be a lot easier to understand and work with whatever it is we get. It's that the UAP topic is real, that it's been ongoing for quite a while, that it's not a silly thing that was studied once in the 40s or 50s or 60s and then never studied again. It's been ongoing. It's a fact that these programs have risen, given us conclusions, and then seeming to disappear. And some of them popped out of nowhere. And once we found out about them, they just gave a quick report and got the heck out. Some of the early ones we know now, like Blue Book, were actually meant to really muddy the water a lot. Others that came later, if you look at them, were obvious that how fast they operated. They were just put there to put some nice little hats on it and shut people up. I don't know why, but a lot of those things, to include a timeline and continuity of events and how this is maintained and changed over the years, that's what people need to know about going into this. Because if we can get around the fact that this is real, that's why I say disclosure's already happened. It just wasn't the bombshell people thought it was going to be, and so you'll hear folks talking about confirmation. So this is where we all really we really come to the front of this and say, okay, this is what it is. Let's begin.
Monolith has a question. He says, Sean, you said in a tweet last year that the Tic Tacs were observed entering a lava tube. A lava tube. You're not saying that?
Well, let me clarify.
Okay.
I said last year that the Tic Tac, and I'll say it again right now. The Tic Tacs were observed going into the water by Senior Chief Kevin Day on radar at a specific latitude and longitude. In the course of investigating our mission to Guadalupe Island for the TV show Unidentified on History Channel, I was asked to find geomagnetic data for the mission. We overlaid that onto a map, and we realized that there was a geomagnetic anomaly at the northeast corner of the island. Now, there's no other research on this. The only thing that I'm stating is that lava tube and the way that Guadalupe Island was created would most likely have created a possibility of a lava tube or a bubble. It's at the same coordinates. I'm only saying that all of those things exist within the same spot. Now, people then say, Sean, do you think they were? No, I don't know. I can't. I could guess all day and speculate, but that would just be a science fiction story.
Okay, well, let's lead to this question here, and this one is from Arthur. Sean mentioned that he would have to turn up the heat if we don't hear much from June 25th. Curious to know more about your tactics. What do you mean by turn up the heat?
Well, no good warrior reveals his tactics before a battle, not unless he has overwhelming force and he just wants to scare the hell out of people, and that's not me. My tactics would just be to engage on items that I haven't engaged on before, to point out things that might have been uncomfortable for people had I pointed them out earlier. A lot of things out there that will help this conversation already exist in the public domain and where the public can find them. They've already been FOIA'd. For a lot of people out there, and this isn't meant to be disrespectful, a lot of people have been playing checkers with this. We got to play chess now because other people are playing chess to keep us from having this conversation.
Does that include USOs as well?
Well, I'm a personal believer that if you're looking at a UFO, you're looking at a USO.
Are we gaining any more range of where these craft, whatever they are coming from? And I'm not talking from an alien sense. Are they coming from the skies? Are they coming through portals? Are they coming from the water? Or is it just everywhere they're coming from?
Well, I think everything and water are the only two things I can point at right now. There doesn't seem to be an area on the Earth that they haven't been sighted over the course of history or that they don't operate. They're often seen around water. I don't know if that's because of a property of the water, of something that is in the water, of the fact that it's just, for the most part, far away from big cities and people and things like that. But obviously, where you look at where we interacted with the Tic Tac, that is our operational training area and pleasure boating area and all of these other things down here. So that's a major concentration of people. So they're not hiding there. I don't want to speculate too much or have people assume that I know, but they're here. When they're not here, I don't know where they are. But they're out in the ocean a lot, it sure seems.
Lou said earlier that there was more videos, especially one that's, I guess, scheduled to be released or could be released, that's going to blow the pants off a lot of people in regards to, what they're going to see. Have you seen that video?
Well, I've never received any classified material. I've never received any material that I didn't have a need to know, and I don't currently hold a security clearance. But I have seen things that I find very compelling. I've spoken to a gentleman like George Knapp, and he has expressed to me that there are more compelling videos out there. I'd like to see them with a chain of custody. I'd like to see them released by the public affairs officer of the United States Navy or Air Force, or even the DoD PAO could be upfront and forthcoming, and they could immediately release the videos that are already in the public domain with a proper chain of custody and all the data that goes along with them. There's a lot of things that can be done, but have people who are quote unquote insiders or in the know seen things that may change people's mind? Absolutely, yes. But are those things are they classified and earth shattering in what we're asking for to be revealed to us? No, it's not quite like that.
But you haven't seen that video.
Well, there's a video out there that a lot of people think exists, and they think they've seen it, and they think they know what they're talking about. Nah, I don't know what that video is. I don't have it. I haven't seen it.
Okay, moving on here. Why are we not seeing the government release these videos? Why are they being leaked? Whether it's, I know when Lou got the 3 videos out when he was in that position before he joined TTSA, and now we're seeing leaks go to George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, and God bless them for getting on out there, because that does take a lot of trust in order to get those videos out. But why haven't we seen that stream of these videos coming from the government or the alphabet agencies themselves?
Well, I don't think we've seen anything come from the government or the alphabet agencies themselves that wasn't pried out by Lou's actions in the last few years. And I don't mean to say that all of modern ufology rests on his shoulders, but let's be real. This was a non-subject and a niche subject, and for the convention circuit with a few major hits every year. And the question is do we still need to maintain ufology after this, or are we going to create a curriculum and an actual study with think tanks, et cetera? Sorry, I got off topic a little bit with that.
No, I think you're going fine.
I think what we just need to see a understanding here that now that this is real, and I come back to this all the time, now that this is real, we need to come together and figure this out together. If we rely on the United States government to give us our answers, we're going to end up right back where we always have been, because the United States government isn't an accountable entity. It's a conglomerate of human beings and agencies and stovepiping and soup bowls and lobbyists and constituencies and completely different sociological needs and wants. But once we have that overarching entity, the rest of society is going to go, okay, UFOs are real. I'm going back to work. I'm going over here. Obviously, there's a lot of us that are going to continue that study. We're going to apply ourselves to it. But why isn't the government giving it to us? Who's in charge of UFOs?
Well, I mean, do we even know? Do we even?
That's
know?
what I'm saying. That's what I'm
right.
saying is I don't think there's never been. We've heard these rumblings throughout the last 50 and 60 years of things like MJ12, and we don't even need to get into the different wording around it. And we've heard of things like aviary from different researchers, and we've heard about these groups within that are trying to work with each other, and and figure out technology and have quiet conversations and still keep their funding and their jobs. Let's smash that. Let's find out who the courageous people were that were barely surviving within this system and still doing the research. People like Dr. Hal Puthoff and other people, and Kit Green and other people like that. People who really carried the scientific torch for a really long time. We need to get those guys on these shows. We need to talk to them. We need to say, hey, what were the challenges you faced? How do we break the system and make this brand new and so it stays in the daylight? Because they're going to have those answers for us.
At any point in time, and I'll ask you a hypothetical question, within the next year, 2 years, are we going to see a change in the fact that we may not be alone and we may have been visited? Because I think a lot of the public wants to know, Sean, what about Roswell? What about the aliens? What about these crash recoveries? What about the bodies? We keep hearing these little snippets of it, and then the topic disappears. Whereas I think the public really wants to know, where's them aliens?
You've seen me deflect the alien question 100 times. I don't even like saying the word.
I know you don't.
And it's way harder to do it on national news. Okay, but it's so to answer your question, man, I hope so. I mean, like you and like everybody else, there's a handful of possibilities that most of us think that this can be. While I might talk about it being a spectrum, there's some obvious stuff we all expect to be told, to find out, etc. I really hope we get to find out some of that. I really hope that there's. I can't imagine another. If we're here now, the easiest thing for the United States government to do would be to truck out the honest to God truth of Roswell. And I don't care if it's a balloon study, and I don't care what it was. I just the honest to God's truth, the real thing. Because we both know that Mylar balloon that was held in that picture, and the telegram in the background, and all of the crap that surrounds the whole rigmarole with the bomb group and the formation of everything. Dude, Rich Dolan tells some amazing stories with his research. He's an incredible researcher. I don't dive into his research because it muddies the water for the people who've never heard of it. But man, we do got to start somewhere, and Roswell's a heck of a place to start.
In your research, as you've delved into this, has there been anything with Roswell that you have learned recently?
Yeah. I've learned that the feeling, that the understanding and the beliefs at certain levels take Roswell just as seriously as the rest of us take this subject. And that there are other sightings, whether we're talking about, I'll go straight to Rendlesham for it. Rendlesham's taken very, very seriously. Now, whether there are the firm answers of origin, craft type, VIN number, what kind of bucket seats does it have, I don't know about any of that stuff. But when the people at the high levels go, oh, yeah, that happened. We don't know what the heck it was, but that happened. That's a big deal to me. As I said shortly after the Tic Tac incident to a friend of mine, when I got back here and told him all about it, I was worked up about it. He was like, man, that's a bunch of BS and blah, blah, blah. There's all these sightings all the time. They can't all be real. And I told him, I said, man, you only need one. You only need one that's real for this to be just the most amazing news we've ever gotten. I might think it's obvious we're not alone in the universe, but where's the proof, man? You know?
Right. Okay. So let's go to Nicole's question here. John Podesta says to move UFOs out of the Pentagon and into the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. What is your thoughts on that, Sean?
I think that's fine and dandy if you're willing to run the risk of having another administration that just destroys science, for 4 years and doesn't fund programs like that. We need an entity that will never go away. We need, as Lou said, a nonpartisan entity, one that can't be pulled back and forth by the stupid pendulum of human politics.
Pretty blunt there. That's actually a good answer. Good answer. We have 7 minutes here with you, and I know it's been a long day for you, and I appreciate you coming on in for hour 2 here. You're a man of your word, and I want people to know that you and I do talk. We talk maybe once a week, once every couple of weeks. I try and leave you alone because I know you're busy, but every now and again, literally, I will text Sean and say, "Hey, I need a hair and beard update. Let's get to it right now." Truth. Total truth.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's the first thing you say to me when you call me. I always go, wah, wah, wah.
Exactly. But I mean, it's a good icebreaker and everything like that. But, I want people to know that I think that you have been very upfront with me. And we've had some very in-depth conversations that a lot of it has been off the record, and I will keep it that way. But a lot of it has been stuff that you've told me that we could that I should be focused on for the show in regards to this subject. Why, when I look at this entire phenomena that you're involved with and you're trying to get the message out, how have you been able to parlay what you know and hold back from people like me, even though you want to get it out and you want the public to know about it? How have you been able to keep yourself restricted on that?
I had a really good friend of mine have me over to his house, and he had another friend of his bring a friend over with them, and they were somebody who was very interested in climate change and the world and the state of the world and how things were in the geopolitical situation. And at the time, I was pretty darn sure that I knew what the state of play was in the world. in regards to UFOs and climate change and long-term history of the planet and all of this other stuff. And I had a pretty strong opinion. And I was asked by one friend, hey, you should tell him all this stuff that you were telling me last time. And I was like, oh, okay, thinking it was just a conversation. Well, what they wanted to see was me blow that person's mind. And that's exactly what happened. I changed the way somebody thought about the world, and that's not what I wanted to do. And I did that with my opinion. I hit them over the head with it so hard it messed them up, and they probably didn't sleep good the rest of that night, you know. And that wasn't even the big picture stuff like UFOs, you know, that we're talking about right now. I saw somebody else have a negative psychological effect to my level of confidence. And I promised myself that I was never going to BS anybody ever, whether it was with my passion or hyperbole or anything else. So that's where that comes from, man. So I'm very careful because I care about the people I'm talking to.
Well, I appreciate that, and you know, I appreciate the relationship that you and I have started forming here as a friendship, and you know, the fact that you'll come on this show pretty much at any time. I appreciate that. For our public here, as we got about 4 minutes left, you know, what is your I'll ask you. I asked Lou this right off at the end there, and I'll ask you the same question. What is your message to the public in regards to the next 29 days before June 25th?
I think my message is a measure of calm, in the fact that if we don't get what we want, if our expectations are not met, we're used to being disappointed by our government. We're used to being let down. What I don't want to see is us give up. This subject is too simply placed back behind a curtain and forgotten about. And there are too few of us who have a good grasp of a framework of reality that we can drag out into the daylight. Not urban myth, legend, $9.95 to hear it, $140 to watch a Zoom or something like that. No, man. Real stuff that's going to end up going in you know, what used to be encyclopedias and dictionaries and reference books, and it's going to be foundational to our future. Not nonsense, not monetized future, you know. So I want us to arrive at actual honest to goodness truth with building blocks that aren't going to go away. And I think we've laid that foundation. I hope everybody will stick around long enough for us to really make this real. And then we can get into the weird, man. I'm all for it. You know I'm all for it. I can't wait.
What should civilians do when they see a UFO? What should they do when they have an experience or maybe get contacted? What do you think they should do?
Honestly, leave your phone in your pocket. I mean, that's my advice to you, period. Leave your phone in your pocket. Open your eyes. Take a deep breath. Consider what your state is at the moment. Open up your heart and observe. You're the number one observer in your universe. You are the number one expert in your universe. If you're fumbling around with this crap and freaking out trying to get somebody to look with you and validate you, forget that, man. None of us ever run inside and go, I just saw a UFO, and everybody goes, oh my God, that's amazing. Let's come outside and look to and talk about it and share your feelings. That doesn't happen. You know, have your moment. Have your experience. Take it in. Enjoy it. This is your life. This is your time. Stop trying to prove it.
Well, I really appreciate that. And over the next 29 days, what are you going to be up to?
I'm looking at my calendar across the room, and I'm not complaining. It's covered. There's a few podcasts on there from some folks from UFO Twitter that I promised I'd get them in there, but the rest of it is just a crazy amount of telling people the same story over and over again. But that's okay because they haven't heard it yet. They need to hear it. After that, it's going to be preparing for the fallout of whatever we get from the UAPTF report. We're going to be announcing our business at some point here in the near future, and some of the plans and educational opportunities that we have. The next few months, the next 6 months are going to be a time of change in this society and on this planet that I think are going to be unlike anything we've ever seen before, if we're willing to look in the right places and embrace what that change is willing to offer us.
Well, I look forward to you and seeing what you have to say. And, you know, I'm going to try and drag you back on this show after the 25th because, you know, hey, I'd be stupid not to. I really would. I want to see you, get your hair frizzled. If we're in for disappointment, I want to see you get mad just like Lou did. Sean, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. You got a lot of fans out there and a lot of people who are propping up your back, Lou's back, and everybody out there who is involved with this field. And we really appreciate what you're doing, man.
Well, we appreciate the support and the love right back. So let's just keep it up. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon, Sean. You hold on. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, let's turn it up a little bit because Gary Shoefield is going to join us. We're going to talk the alien autopsy video, NFT. Is it worth $1 million? We'll find out next on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. All right, brother, we are clear. That is
Good
awesome.
stuff, man.
Good stuff, man. I know.
Just let me know.
I know the way that you and I talked about this yesterday. I think it went exactly the way we wanted.
I think you understand me, man. I think you understand that I don't want to manipulate anything, but I see the way the water flows down the hill sometime, and I think it's the easiest way to get to the bottom.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon though, because I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Anytime.
All right, brother.
You know where I'm at. Take care, brother.
Bye-bye. All right. There we go. Sean Cahill, everyone. Much love to him. Much love to him. And let's bring in Gary here. Hey, Gary, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you today or this evening?
Good. We're on a commercial break right now for another 5 minutes, so I'm just going to darken you out here, and I'll be back here in a couple seconds. I just got to run out for a second, okay?
No problem.
All right, buddy. Hold on. We'll be right back, guys. Gary Shoefield is our guest next, so give me a minute. I'll be back. Let's do this, man. Let's do this. All right, Gary, we've got about 1 minute here. 1 minute.
Your show goes out all over the world, all over America?
Yeah, all over. We got 6 radio stations in North America, and
wow.
we have a worldwide audience.
Fantastic. Good for you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my friend, I'm just going to read an intro back into the show, and then I'll introduce you.
Okay.
And then we'll get going here.
Thank you.
I think my voice is still going, which is good. All right, we got 18 seconds. Thank you to everybody in the Super Chats. I'll read them off later, but we're going to get going here with the third hour. Thank you to all our new subscribers, and what an amazing night. Here we go on Spaced Out Radio.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Jejinator. Jejinator is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with ET Talk all night long. From the alien autopsy video, Gary Shoefield is with us as we appreciate you coming on in, Gary, to break this on down because you guys are making a little bit of news these days as well. You're going to jump into the NFT market. But before we get into that, let's get into the alien autopsy video because there's a lot of people out there, Gary, who still believe that this video has been debunked, that it was a hoax, and there are still those who believe that this is the real deal, that there was something from another planet or another timeline that was found and recorded as an autopsy. What's your feelings on this?
Well, I know it's real. I've always known it's real. I've been involved in it since day one. I think the revelations of the email or memo that was from Kit Green at the CIA confirming that the footage is real should satisfy people that that's what it is. He even calls it, the Ray Santilli footage. I think it's very clear. If people think that he doesn't know what he's talking about, then I don't know what kind of proof they're looking for. So I've never had any doubts about its authenticity. I'm pleased that someone other than Ray and myself have now confirmed that it's real, and I'm very proud of that.
Okay, Gary, for people who may not be familiar with it, the UFO crowd or the ET crowd, people who have an interest in this subject, will understand or have already formed an opinion on it. But for the people out there listening who may not know what the alien autopsy is, give us a little historical background on this.
Sure. It was back in, originally I think around 92, Ray and I were in America. Ray met with the cameraman. I wasn't at that meeting. He saw the footage. Several years later, he was able to acquire that footage. Sadly, a lot of the footage was damaged, but we were able to salvage 1 minute and I can't remember 16 seconds, something like that. At the time, we produced some additional footage to add to it, which was done remarkably. It matched exactly the footage that we had from the cameraman. We put out what was around 18 minutes of footage. We didn't tell people that we'd added footage to it at the time. And then it was hugely successful all over the world, played in over 100 countries. We did not make a show and sell a show. We actually just sold the footage to the different broadcasters around the world and told them to make their own show. They could try and debunk it. They could do whatever they wanted, but they had to be able to prove it. No one on the planet was able to prove that it wasn't real. Excuse me. And then in 2006, Warner Brothers decided to make a movie about it. And we told them the true story and how we had added footage to it and how we did it. The movie is a more comedic version of events. But the real footage was in there. The real footage was edited into the 18 minutes. I have a pretty good memory as to which bits were real and which bits were added. But it's very difficult to tell for those watching it because it was beautifully recreated, restored, as we like to call it. But the essence of the film, the 1 minute 16, was always real, and nothing and no one is ever going to change my view of that. And as I say, we've now got confirmation from a much higher source that the footage was real, but we kind of knew that all along. And that's a brief summary of events.
Okay, there was a report in the debrief where they allegedly talked to Kit Green, who said he was hoaxed by Santilli. What's your thoughts on this?
I have seen no proof of that whatsoever. When the memo came out, Ray and I were accused of actually planting it. So we're used to people, there's no story if they just agree with you. For people who want to be negative about it or try and find holes in the story, if they can't find them, they'll create them or invent them. Whether that guy spoke to Kit Green or not, I have no idea. I haven't seen any proof that he did. I've read the story, but it really doesn't mean very much to me, to be honest.
Okay, so you say that you have confirmation from higher sources that this video is authentic, it is real, the clip that you guys own. What higher sources are those?
Oh, I'm referring to the Kit Green memo. That's a higher source than me and a higher source than Ray, one that has no agenda, and that's why I think it should be trusted. And I would find it very strange that the memorandum, which goes into quite some detail, that Kit Green would have reversed himself out of it. Having said that, if Kit Green wants to publicly come out and say that he doesn't support what was in that email, then he has every right to do so. But I've never heard him do that personally.
Okay, so you have this video. For people out there in radio land who may not have seen it before, what are we seeing in the 1 minute plus clip that you guys have?
Well, it was the footage that was salvaged was, the first lot of footage that was salvaged was all the alien on the table being autopsied. And it's, matter of public record. The footage has been out there for a very long time. And it is what it is. So that's what people see. That's what the 18 minutes was, which included the 1 minute and 16 odd seconds of original footage in it. And for those who don't know it, they can see it on YouTube. It was used, in the Warner Brothers movie as well. It's been used in countless documentaries and countless top 10 hoax shows as well. But I suspect since the CIA memo, it might not make as many hoax shows as it used to.
Okay, so this alien that's on the table here, do we know which crash retrieval this allegedly came from?
No. I mean, it's referred to as the Roswell crash, and I don't know if any of us are really going to know all the detail about that, but that's what it was referred to as. That's what I've always been told it was from, and I have no reason to disbelieve that.
Okay, so now all of a sudden, the new world of NFTs has come out. So explain to our audience who may not understand what an NFT is. What is it?
It's effectively a digital copy of anything. It's like a JPEG. So if you own something very valuable and you decide to make a digital copy of it, you can sell that and it becomes a collectible in its own right, depending on how you sell it. So what we've done is we've taken one frame of the original film from 1947, and we have not only made an NFT of that, but we are also selling with the NFT the actual original frame as well. So whoever wins the auction will get the actual frame of film and the NFT, and obviously copies of the CIA memo that went out, although that's publicly available. It's been on the internet for a while now. And I don't think we would have sold it if we didn't have the CIA paperwork to back it up, because up to that point, the speculation about its authenticity has always been widely and fiercely debated. Now we believe that's less of an issue, although some would still like to debate it. And we believe it's unique. It's the only NFT of its kind. It's actually the only alien artifact ever to be sold with any kind of verification that I'm aware of. And we think it's worth a lot of money.
A lot of money is $1 million is the figure I'm hearing. Where did you come up with that?
That's just the starting figure. I mean, we've all read about NFTs reaching crazy numbers, and we believe we are selling something that is extremely unique and will have great value. This is the only frame that will ever be sold. It's not like we're going to sell another one next week or the week after. This will be a unique piece that somebody will actually be able to physically own, and will be able to display, and hopefully will be very proud of. So the starting price is $1 million. Where it goes to, I really have no idea, but we are hopeful that it will do very well.
What's the initial interest in the potential purchase of this NFT? Because there's not a lot of people on this planet who have an extra $1 million to throw around, even though we see art and sculptures going for multi-millions of dollars.
Well, I guess people who have that kind of money, who have already made purchases in that market, might see this as something that's tangibly more valuable. I'm not here to comment on what's been paid for various things, but I have seen huge amounts of money paid for things that I just don't understand. This is a much easier thing to understand because the footage is very famous. It's something that we believe would be a fantastic addition to any collection. And it only takes two people with that kind of money to bid against each other to see the price go up. So we're not expecting hundreds of bids from around the world because it is expensive, but we honestly believe it's worth every cent or penny in my country.
Okay. Well, we don't have pennies here in Canada anymore, just so you know. We're all nickels now. We're all nickels now. Just a bunch of nickels. Anyways, moving forward here, Gary, as we continue on here talking about the alien autopsy video, we are talking with Gary Shoefield here tonight, one of the owners of this film. Gary, for $1 million, the auction site where it will be held, are there any preliminary discussions going on with potential buyers?
No, it doesn't really work that way. It's probably a bit more like eBay. People who do decide to bid, I suspect, I've never bought an NFT, so I'm afraid I'm not an expert in the area, but I'm assuming that the people who bid remain anonymous, and therefore we have no idea who's following it, who's looking at it, who's got it in their diary for when the auction ends to make sure they don't miss it. We haven't got a clue. So we have no idea what will happen, how well it will go, or even if it will sell. So, we're slightly blind by that. But we've had a really very good experience working with Rarible, who are excellent, an excellent site, and have been very supportive. And they also see this as something unique and original that they've never had the opportunity to sell before.
Okay, so which auction site again is it at?
Rarible. RARIBLE, Rarible.com, and you'll find it actually on the front page. It's being promoted by Rarible, and it's very easy to find it.
Well, as we move forward here and kind of looking at this, what kind of video or what kind of impact does this video have for today's ufology?
I don't really know about today's ufology in terms of. Somebody asked me actually just today if we had that footage now and we're going to release it now, did I think it would have the same impact? And I don't think it would have anything like the same impact, because the internet has many good and bad things about it. But one of them is that there is lots of footage on the internet which is faked, which is deep faked now, and all the rest of it. So I doubt it would have made any impact at all. When we had the footage, the internet was in its infancy. We relied a lot more on traditional media, who were actually very supportive of the footage and gave it an honest and free airing. In other words, they looked at it with an open mind, and I don't think people are like that anymore. So, but that said, there's so much more UFO information coming out seemingly at the moment, and sightings and clips, and the government's getting more involved in how UFO information has been handled. So maybe it's a good time for people to become interested in it again. And if that helps us with our NFT, that's great. And if it doesn't, then that's just the way of the world.
What happens if nobody bids?
Then nobody bids. That's life. Then we go back to our day jobs.
And I'm not trying to, spoof you or anything like that, but there is a reality to this. I mean, as much as anybody wants to, profit or make something off of something that they have that is of potential value, there is a potential that it may not go anywhere. I mean, are you concerned about that? Have you talked about that?
No, I'm not concerned at all. It's an opportunity that we thought timing-wise was right. If nobody bids or people feel it's too expensive, then that's that. It's just, as I say, it's a commercial enterprise. Ray and I have never at any time suggested it's anything other than a commercial enterprise. That's why when we got the footage, we exploited it. We've done a movie, we've done merchandising, we've done all kinds of things. I'm very proud of the job we've done. I don't owe anyone any explanations for it. So if it sells, great. And if it doesn't, as I say, Ray and I are not full-time ufologists or anything like it. We're both in the entertainment business. We both have careers in different sectors of the entertainment business. And we will very happily, I mean, even if it sold for a fortune tomorrow, it wouldn't change what I did the day after. So it doesn't bother us in that way. If somebody wants to own a piece of history, they have an opportunity to do it. If they don't, that's fine by us too.
Right. Have you had any private inquiries, phone calls on this? Because your names are on this site or on this bid at Rarible.com.
Yes, we have had some approaches from various third parties about wanting to buy it, but they have to go to Rarible and they have to bid on it like everybody else. Whether those inquiries are genuine or not, we have no way of knowing, but I've had at least 2 direct inquiries on that very subject. I don't know if Ray's had any, but yes, I'm not surprised, because it is I think it's a momentous thing to own and to have. But again, that may not translate into real bids, and if that's the case, then again, that's fair enough.
For you, I mean, this is like holding a lottery ticket. I mean, less than 12 hours to go in this auction. And do you feel like you're holding a lottery ticket here?
No. As I say, it's just an opportunity. Whether people like it or not, Ray and I have been very good at taking opportunities. Otherwise, we wouldn't be have called. Autopsy didn't mean anything to anyone if we hadn't have done a good job to get it out into the marketplace and make it what it is today, I wouldn't be on this show with you. So, no, I don't see it as a lottery ticket at all. It's just another opportunity. And also, it keeps the legacy of the alien autopsy alive, things like this, because we haven't done anything publicity worthy for a while. We didn't do it for that reason, but we knew as soon as we announced it, it would attract attention. And as I've said many times, and I have done already this evening with you, both Ray and I are very proud of alien autopsy and are very proud with what we've done. And if it brings it back into the public consciousness, there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's all we get out of it, then that's good too.
Well, some people will say that any publicity is good publicity. Is this a potential publicity stunt?
No, it's an absolutely genuine offer. If somebody wins the auction, they will get exactly what we promised that they will get. I think the definition of a stunt is that there's maybe not enough substance behind what it is you're trying to do, but that's not our intention. But again, if the most that comes out of this is that we keep the legacy of alien autopsy alive, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
All right. I think that is absolutely great. And good luck to you guys, as we got about 3 minutes to go here. You know, for people who have never seen this video, where can they find it to have a look at it? Because that's probably as close as many people will get to it.
Oh, they can see it on YouTube. Just type in alien autopsy. It's been on there for a long time. They might get the movie was called Alien Autopsy as well, so they might get the trailer of the movie, which starred Harry Dean Stanton and Bill Pullman and two British actors who played Ray and myself in the film. But I love the movie. The movie's great fun. If you haven't seen it, it's on Apple, it's on Amazon. And when it came out, it was very successful in the UK, which was obviously the home territory for it. So you can see it on YouTube and familiarize yourself. But I was reminded the other day, and I watched it again for the first time in many years, but there's also a fantastic scene at the beginning of an episode of Seinfeld where Kramer and Newman are sitting on a park bench at the opening of an episode, and they're talking about alien autopsy. And for me, that was almost reward enough to know that it had got into the zeitgeist and into culture to such a level that it would make a show of that caliber. It was in lots of other shows, The X-Files, The Simpsons, and more recently, Project Blue Book on the History Channel, which I've thoroughly enjoyed, did a two-parter, which was based on alien autopsy, and they featured Ray and I in the episode, which, again, we're very proud of.
There's a lot of people out there who love this video, and for you, is there any special moment in that video that really stands out to you that the public can look at?
I think my favorite part of the video, and also other people have commented, is there's a sequence where it looks like they're pulling a crystal out of the alien's chest. I think for a lot of people that's a significant part of the video because it shows something that they would not expect to be pulling out of anybody's chest, let alone an alien's. So that's a particularly good thing. And then I think I'm very proud of the way the footage was recreated to match the original footage. It's so brilliantly done. I don't even know how they did it. It was just so brilliantly done that I'm very proud of the whole 80 minutes, not just the actual original 1 minute and 16 seconds.
Well, tomorrow's going to be a very big day for you because this auction is going to fire on up, and hopefully, I mean, there's no bidding as of this moment, but there's still a number of hours to go, and I really hope success for you. I really do, and, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I'm curious to see how it goes.
As indeed am I, and Ray, and everybody who's been involved with it. Rob and Alex have done a fantastic job. Owen, our PR guy's done a great job. Dave Altman has helped us a lot. Masha at Rareable's done a great job. So we've had a fantastic team working on this with us, and we're very happy with how everything's come out.
Well, good luck, Gary Shoefield. We really appreciate you taking time to break it on down for us here on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire. We have the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Good job, Gary. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate the time. And feel free to bid. I'm sure you're worth many millions of
Oh,
dollars.
I'm sure I am, and I will get my butler Jeeves to do that right off the bat. But thanks to our good friend Dave Altman for setting this up. I really appreciate you, little Davey Altman. And thank you, Gary, and all the best to you, and good luck in your auction tomorrow.
Thank you. Take care. Be safe.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
All right. What a night. I got to tell you, I am worn out after tonight. This is a huge night for us. Huge night. Huge night. Broken records. Great radio. We saw things out of Lou Elizondo that we've never seen before, a.k.a. Emotional Lou. I think it was great. Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm hungry. Sean Cahill was great as well. Hey, Rachmaninoff, how are you? Thank you, Steve the Alien, the Australian. Sweet Michelle C., thank you. See something here. I'm curious. I don't know if it'll show me yet, but wow. We gained 100 followers on our YouTube tonight alone. That's kind of cool. It's actually very cool. Thank you, Sinister Vax. Honestly, anybody want to go to Taco Bell for me? I could use some Taco Bell right now. Asteroid is not in agreement with tonight's show. Not in agreement. Race fan, you weren't even close to gold tonight. Just wondering about that. Thanks, Rye Guy. Where have you been hiding lately? That's important for us to know. Raspberries, go to Taco Bell for us. Just go. It's not going to hurt anything. Just go. Honestly, I've been dieting for like 5 weeks here. Okay? And I am the last couple of days going through a major junk food withdrawal. Major junk food withdrawal. And I'm not talking like candy bars or potato chips or anything like that, because I don't eat that stuff. I'm saying like fast food. I am dying for fast food right now. What I wouldn't do, there's very little I wouldn't do right now for a Big Mac. Oh, I'm telling you right now, I could pound 3 Big Macs like anything right now. 3 of them. Raspberries, the closest Taco Bell to me is 2.5 hours away. Rafaela, I agree. The gorgeous and talented Rafaela from the Czech Republic. No, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. After this is done, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to eat an apple, maybe a banana, maybe a slice of cheese. I don't know. I'm going to be good. Got to fight through these tough times. And by God, this is tough times right now. Here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to say that and remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, the news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the sad. And I'm sad about this, but before we get to the sad story, Fap in our chat room on YouTube says, I'm going for a Taco Bell late night run, Dave. What do you want? One of everything. One of everything. Yes, and Kira, knowing that I'm dieting the last 5 weeks, says, Dave, bananas are not good for dieting. They are very high in sugars. Yes, but I like them. I like bananas. I like bananas. Oh. Then she's telling me to go on keto. Well, maybe. Maybe. I am losing weight. That's the main thing. I am losing weight. You know, I got some sad news here. Okay, some sad news. You know our good friend on this show, Nelson Dellis, 4-time memory champion in the United States. Brilliant man. He's come on the show a couple of times to talk about his chances at climbing Mount Everest, where he almost died twice. And recently, he went back to Mount Everest to try a 4th time to summit. And unfortunately today, he announced on his Facebook page that it didn't happen. I'm going to read this to you. He goes, sometimes the story we're after isn't the story we necessarily get or expect. We sniped a super narrow weather window thanks to our big boss, Phil Crampton, obsessing over a multitude of weather forecasts the last few weeks. He got it right on the nose, but it came at a cost. We pushed aggressively up to the South Col to meet the window, but I was absolutely wrecked. With only a few hours to rest before pushing up to the summit, I knew I was going to have to dig deep. Our summit day, we left at 6 p.m., hoping to be back down before the winds picked up early the next morning. There was no one up there but us and a couple of other teams, maybe 25 to 30 people total, including Sherpas. There was 0 lines this night. We got it right. Either way, we headed up and I felt great. But partway up the triangular face, a couple of hours in, I started to really feel the exhaustion. We had already encountered some dead bodies and some people in need of or being rescued, and it all just seemed wrong. How can people let it get to that point? For a rock. I knew this was my 4th time, and honestly, who wants to fail something for a 4th time? But I did what made the most sense to me given all the info that was racing through my brain. Turn around, Not today. So at 8,300 meters, I decided to turn around. I love this mountain, and I so want to be able to stand on top of it one day and be able to say with no excuses, I summited Everest. But not now, not like this. Maybe it will never happen, or maybe it will one day long down the road, but I can say for sure that I'm happy with, geez, this sounds cliche but true, happy with and proud of what I've accomplished on the mountain over the years. The story and the memories are all that really matter in the end, don't they? When we got back down to base camp, our amazing cooking crew baked us a cake. It said, of course, congrats on the summits. The rest of our team had summited. But there was another message for me that read, it's the memories that count. I couldn't agree more. So in a way, I'm very sad for Nelson. He's 0 for 4 in trying to summit Mount Everest. But in the end, he did what was right. His body was not feeling proper. He could not make it up. He knew he couldn't without risking literally life and death. And he made the right decision, not only for himself, but his beautiful wife, their 2 beautiful sons. And I'm really proud of him. And Spaced Out Radio, you know, he is a big fan of us. He is a big fan of what we do. He's come on this show a couple of times to talk about it. And I really do believe that Nelson did his best. And hopefully, God willing, there will be another time for him and get up on top of Mount Everest and live the dream that he so deserves. So we're going to keep supporting that. The former Pentagon official who went public about reports about UFOs has filed a complaint with the agency's inspector general claiming a coordinated campaign to discredit him for speaking out, including accusing a top official of threatening to tell people he was crazy, according to documents reviewed by Politico Newswire. Lou Elizondo, who was on this show earlier, a career counterintelligence specialist who was assigned in 2008 to work for a Pentagon program that investigated reports of unmanned aerial phenomena, filed a 64-page complaint to the independent watchdog on May 3rd and has met several times with investigators, according to his legal team. The claim that the government is trying to discredit him comes weeks before the Director of National Intelligence and the Pentagon are expected to deliver an unclassified report to Congress about UFOs and the government's strategy for investigating such encounters. The report is expected to include detailed accounting of the agency's personnel and surveillance systems that gather and analyze the data. What he is saying is that there are certain individuals in the Defense Department who in fact were attacking him and lying about him publicly, using the color of authority of their offices to disparage him and discredit him, and were interfering in his ability to seek and obtain gainful employment out in the world, said Daniel Sheehan, Elizondo's attorney, who was a guest on this show last night, and also threatening his security clearance. Sheehan, a public interest lawyer and activist, has a long history of taking on the federal government on behalf of high-profile clients, including defending the New York Times in the Pentagon Papers case, as well as one of the Watergate burglars. He is also widely viewed as a provocateur who has an abiding interest in UFOs and has spoken publicly about alien visitations. He also served as counsel for the Disclosure Project, led by ufologist Dr. Stephen Greer, that has sought out to force more government transparency on UFOs. When asked for comment, Elizondo referred all questions to Sheehan, unless you listen to this replay on Spaced Out Radio, where he gets into it a little bit more. I highly suggest you check out our replay of hour number 1 of this show. Yeah, nobody seems to be taking this thing seriously, Sheehan said, of Elizondo's concerns when he left the Pentagon in 2017. The different units and different groups that are responsible for responding to this particular phenomena, they're not briefing each other on this. Well, we'll find out very soon what happens. Moving forward here. Oh, this is a good story here. A Florida man has been arrested for allegedly attacking his daughter with pizza after she said she wanted to be alone. On the afternoon of Sunday, May 23rd, Tyler Warden, 41 years old, visited the Vero Beach home of his 20-year-old daughter, Kristen. He brought a pizza for them to eat together, but she told him that she wasn't feeling well and asked him to leave, according to an arrest affidavit. The daughter told police that her father became angry and refused to leave. He allegedly argued with her in the doorway of her home. She said that he then allegedly began to throw slices of pizza at her, hitting her in the face. Isn't that a nice way to treat your daughter? The daughter then began to yell at her father, called 911 after he allegedly refused to leave, police said. When Officer Jonathan Lozada from the Vero Beach Police Department responded to the woman's call, he discovered tomato sauce on her face. Lozada also found pizza toppings covering the entryway of the woman's house. The police officer interviewed the woman's father, who claimed that he only threw the pizza after he thought she closed the door in front of him. But Lozada didn't believe the claim. The father's physical location during the argument and the woman's outward swinging front door led Lozada to conclude there is no way that Tyler could not have seen that door was open or closed when he threw the pizza. Yep. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit, right? Lozada also noted that strong odor of an alcoholic beverage was on her father's breath. He is arrested on misdemeanor charges and booked into the Indian River County Jail. Leave the pizza alone. The pizza was innocent. Innocent, I tell you. If it seems like SpaceX launches have gotten a bit, boring lately, it's because so many of them go off without a hitch. Sure, the SpaceX Starship prototypes have been having rough go of things, but the Falcon 9s is so reliable at this point that launches come and go without much fanfare. In fact, the SpaceX Starlink launch that is scheduled to take place will be the 100th consecutive successful Falcon 9 launch, assuming all goes as planned. The milestone is one that has been in the making since June of 2015, which seems like ages ago. It was in that month that a SpaceX Falcon 9 was attempting to launch a Dragon cargo capsule, but failed. The rocket's second stage disintegrated and the capsule was lost. That was the last time a Falcon 9 failed to perform its duty, and the success streak has shown no signs of slowing down. The rocket that will be carrying a fresh batch of Starlink satellites into space has one flight under its belt. There was a time when using rocket boosters twice was just a pipe dream, but by SpaceX standards, the Falcon 9 doing the heavy hauling is just a newbie. The company's record thus far is 10 successful flights with a single rocket, which was achieved not long ago. SpaceX's entire business model depends on being able to launch rockets more than once. For that to happen, the rockets have to have the ability, with reusability in mind, sure, but they also have to be able to survive every mission in order to have a chance to fly again. The Falcon 9 is very clearly a reliable rocket in every sense of the word. Let's continue on here. Over 174 million years ago, seems like just yesterday, doesn't it? A squid-like creature was chowing down on an ancient crustacean, only to find itself scooped up as a meal by a prehistoric shark. 3 creatures left their mark in time in an extraordinarily well-preserved fossil in Germany. This particular food chain required a bit of detective work. Immediately recognizable in the fossil itself are the hard parts. Of the belemnite, a type of sea creature resembling today's squid, hundreds of little hooks, 2 large hooks, and a torpedo-shaped shell called a rostrum. Bits of fossilized soft parts of the belemnite extend from the shell, and the claws of the crustacean are interspread within the hooks. The shark, however, is completely absent. There are no bite marks, and yet the author of the paper published this April in Swiss Journal of Paleontology said that this fossil is in fact the remnant of a meal from a large marine predator. In other words, what remains for us today is what the shark Hybidus spit out. It's not an outlandish leap to suggest this, even though there is no proof, which, Either way, it's kind of cool. Let's move on. We're running out of time. Firefighters responded to a California road to rescue a parachutist who apparently missed his landing zone and became entangled in power lines. Oh, that's scary. All you can really do is hang there and hope you don't get electrocuted. The Riverside County Fire Department said crews were summoned about 11:10 a.m. on Monday to an intersection in Lake Elsinore where a man's parachute was stuck on power lines, leaving him suspended about 30 feet off the ground. A utility crew from SoCal Edison was summoned to the scene to shut off the power to the lines and help the man return to solid ground with a bucket truck. The man was taken to hospital to be treated for minor injuries, firefighters said. The scene of the rescue was located nearby a local skydiving center, but it's not clear whether that was where the man's parachuting journey begun. I have a feeling his parachuting journey began in an airplane or a helicopter. I don't think it was a Condor or an alien ship. Just saying. Authorities in Northern California said a mountain lion broke through a window and entered a home after apparently confusing some taxidermy heads as live prey. The San Bruno Police Department said the confused cougar broke through a window of a San Bruno home around 12:20 a.m. on Tuesday. It is believed that the mountain lion entered the residence because of several large game taxidermy trophy heads mounted on the interior walls of the residence. The home scared the homeowner, not the home, scared the animal away, and it left through the same window. There were no injuries reported. While mountain lion sightings are fairly common throughout Northern California, this type of incident is out of the ordinary, police said. The department said the mountain lions are typically not dangerous to the public and will avoid interactions with humans. Yeah, it's until they're hungry. It's always when they're hungry. Oh, here's sad news from our childhood. Eric Carle's picture books were often about insects, spiders, ladybugs, crickets, and of course the famous caterpillar, all as colorful and friendly as Carle himself. Yes, the very hungry caterpillar. How many times have you read that book? I know I read it to my kids lots and lots and lots of times. At one point, I actually had it memorized. Well, it's his best-known work. It came out in 1969 and became one of the best-selling children's books of all time. According to a family statement, Carle passed away peacefully, surrounded by family members on May 23rd. He was 91 years old. Over the course of his career, Carle illustrated more than 70 books for children. He didn't get started on that path until he was nearly 40, but he found great inspiration in his own childhood. Born in Syracuse, New York, Carle remembered an early life filled with art, light, and walking through nature holding his father's hands. I think it started with my father. He took me for long walks and explained things to me, he said back in 2007. The elder Carle pointed out foxholes, spider webs, and birds' nests, opening his son's eyes to the beauties and mysteries in a child's landscape. But Carle's immigrant parents decided to return home to Germany. His mother was homesick, and they arrived just in time for World War II. All of us regretted it, he remembered. During the war, there were no colors. Everything was gray and brown, and the cities were all camouflaged with grays and greens and browns and greens and gray greens and brown greens. There was no color. Carle was beaten by teachers and shot at by soldiers, and his beloved father disappeared into a Russian prisoner of war camp years later after being drafted to fight for the Nazis. The man who wrote The Very Hungry Caterpillar experienced hunger firsthand. Carle headed straight back to the United States after graduating from art school at age 23 and was hired by the New York Times. He fell in love with the Impressionists, who used a lot of color, served in the U.S. military during the Korean War, and upon his return, moved into advertising. He was 91 years old. And finally tonight, in the thick of tall grasslands of the Himalaya foothills lives an endangered pygmy hog, a species so small its piglets can fit in your pocket. Standing about 10 inches, the shy animal once roamed the border regions of India, Nepal, and Bhutan, snuffling about for insects and tubers. But a century of habitat degradation and destruction, especially the conversion of grasslands for agriculture use, decimated the population of the pygmy hog. Well, it was rediscovered in 1971 after it was thought it was extinct. The success now literally says that this pig is starting to be seen again. And they're about to release more into the Manas with about 60 pigs over the next 5 years. This is all to reproduce and bring this beautiful animal back to its original habitat. Good for them. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. Where do you think these UAP are coming from? X-Quest. Some are interdimensional pop-ins. Read Carl Sagan's Flatland. Some are portal travelers. Example, Skinwalker Ranch. Some are just from here going base to base. Some are ours. Ronnie, I believe that most are interdimensional and arriving through portals. In fact, I believe that many paranormal experiences and creatures are coming here through portals. Barry, UTs are ultra-terrestrials who probably walk about unnoticed and hide in the water and mountains or another reality, but here, some nuts and bolts ETs, dimension, frequency hoppers, could be any of them. All right, moving on. Let's go here. Evan, private firms developing technology the military has no access to. Realistically, the odds of it being aliens are pretty low. Gail, I believe the UAPs are ours rather than from other countries or planets. The reason is simple. Anytime an aerial object enters our airspace and does not respond appropriately to our strict protocol, fighter jets are immediately scrambled. In the videos, we have seen papers and articles we have read regarding the UAPs. Have we seen one single fighter jet scramble to deal with the violation of our airspace? I have not. Therefore, I conclude that it's because the aerial objects are ours. Chris, multiple opinions. Off-world ETs visiting Earth being witnessed and caught on, documented by camera in a way previously not as readily available. Off-world ETs with installations located on Earth interacting with military and civilian aircraft and personnel. Joe, all UAPs come from a palace of the Inquisition in Mexico City because nobody expects the Inquisition. Cable guy Matt believes it's space. John, I believe most are extraterrestrial, physical, coming from other planets or areas of existence. Melinda, well, let's see. While a very slim portion of what craft are cited may be built by humans in advanced, clandestine, high-tech, reverse engineering programs, the massive majority of what is being witnessed are off-world technology. We're just not that good at those programs and aren't that big or that well funded. Remember, there are at least thousands of sightings worldwide every single day. And as far as who built those off-world vehicles, we can only extrapolate based on the very limited knowledge of who might be out there. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone taking part in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, LGAB, Twitch, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and Derek and the Snarkettes hanging out on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yep, we've got room for you too. Good night.